as I said, I am going to go and get some water, and then I shall return and we shall get started. Thank you for your patience. All right. Okay. I think we got everything just about as well as we're going to get it. We're going to go ahead and get started. Prayerfully, all is well with everyone. Oh, I'm sorry, TikTok. Let me make sure y'all can see me. That probably helped, right? Hold on one second. Flip y'all around. All right, cool. All right, welcome, 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 welcome. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, reject, and protect. Today's message, Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao. Namaste. Hosayana Kitabuya. Ohio. I see you. Manut. Fuguan. Kamsa. Kamsamida. Aloha. Ciao. Habarigani. Akwaba. Madase. Etese. Jambo. Bibidi Kofi. Nili Farako Katana de Wewe. Boker To. Boker Tab. Grand Rising. Bakwartab. Barakalat Shamihaba. And I, Kwavai, Khelet to Christ. Mashalam Chi. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being on with us. Today, Today, Kwam Yachasvel at Tazadaak at Yechava. We thank you so much for being on and joining us on whatever platforms you're joining us on. We know that, especially if you're joining us on TikTok, we kind of got a special situation right now where we're not on Kofi_43. So if you happen to see this later on or hear this later on in the recording and you're like, hey, I haven't been able to find you, we always say look up hashtag find Kofi. We always say try to figure out how to get to different platforms that we have, including even X. Once again, we really don't get much traction in X, but we do actually put content and stuff out there as well on Facebook, on IG, on YouTube, on TikTok. Also, too, to let you guys know, well, let me finish up real quick. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that is able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, our website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. I'm thankful and grateful and appreciative of her. And thank you for all those who support her in her business, whether it be Bloom and Flourish or even Changing Lives Initiative, her nonprofit. We're still thankful and grateful for the things that SOC is able, and the persons where SOC is able to partner up with. You see me even geared up today, once again, as I've done in time past. It's Greta, the different things that she has for the diaspora. You see the bracelet also. Brother Dwayne does bracelets and stuff as well, but I'm showing Sister Greta stuff right now. But she obviously made this amazing. She has women's versions of it as well, with olive tav, right, where you have your olive bit, and then of course, little things like this as well. She gave it a nice little package and stuff like that. So I like to kind of show different things that we at SOC are doing. We're working really hard to ensure that we're supporting one another, helping each other out, and working towards all of us being able to be the sovereigns that Yahweh has called us to be. For we are royalty, and royalty, although we know the poor will be with us always, at the same time, if enough of us have things going, we can start to take care of things within our community by ourselves. And so, or well, not by ourselves, with Yahweh's hand, right, with his kaf with us. So we're thankful and grateful, though, to everyone for being on. We appreciate, love you. We'll get ready to do our Bible pledge in just a little bit. Reminder, December 28th, Women in Red virtually is going to happen for the Ataya Tea ceremony, and tied into it, preaching, words, songs, all these great things. And we're excited about what Yah is going to be giving us. That's going to actually be on December 28th. I had to double check the time. It's either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. We'll start having flyers out for you guys pretty soon. And those who have been asked to participate in whichever way you've been asked, we thank you in advance for your service. Also, too, December 31st will be Watch Night service. All of our preachers will be given about a 10-minute or so message. And we're excited about what y'all's doing. That's going to start around 9 p.m. Eastern New York time. The music will start about 8:30 p.m. Eastern New York time. And I wanted to say one last thing as we're getting ready. I want to explain it. I explained it a little bit the other day, actually when TikTok was giving us issues. So those of you on TikTok didn't hear this yesterday, but we will be, just in case, we are asking you guys to get an app called Lemon 8, lemon like the fruit, Lemon, lemon, or lemon, 8, right, Lemon 8. And what this 8 Lemon 8 app does is it's owned by TikTok. It also allows all of your friends, persons you follow, etc., to go there. So starting today, my goal is to start posting from now on. Maybe we'll go back into stuff that we haven't downloaded and posted there as well. But my goal is to start uploading on there on a regular basis. So you should be able to catch stuff on there. But now the Lemon 8 app is a just in case thing for us. It's owned by TikTok, and in case TikTok goes down, you'll be able to still be able to use TikTok, but you'll be using it under Lemon 8. So the Lemon 8 app, the TikTok app are the same company. Now, the reason why we're doing this, to be honest with you, I don't believe that, I'm not saying anything prophetic, I don't believe that TikTok is going anywhere, because this is how the whole TikTok thing is going. So I'm just going to explain this real quick. Basically what happened with TikTok is that Donald Trump, when he was in before, you remember he started saying China thing. And that picked up steam. And then anything that was connected to China anyway, including eventually TikTok, caught strays. Now, China, if you look at, so China basically, TikTok is a Chinese-owned company, although everybody who works for it, stuff like that, is not even really Chinese. But basically, it is a company that, is officially, I guess you would say, under Chinese government as far as, I don't know if you say taxes or whatever, but things like that, right? So basically what happened with TikTok is that over time, even Democrats were like, okay, everybody seems to be like, well, TikTok shouldn't be taking our information, yada, 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 and giving it. But and then Meta, right, which you guys know is Facebook, but Meta and groups like that started being like, yeah, they shouldn't, even though all Meta does and all things, places like Google and those places, all those platforms do is literally take your information and sell it to the highest bidder. But I guess since they're selling it to an American, it's okay that the domestic person have your stuff, right? Because supposedly they protect you. But it's not okay that China's not even doing it, but there's a possibility that if China forced TikTok to ever do that, then TikTok would have to start giving them information. Now, China is not doing that, at least so we think, and so is being said, but that being the case, so they said, so basically what the United States of America did is they said, okay, with the pressure of all these corporations, they said, all right, look, TikTok can stay, but they got to sell it to us. TikTok's like, we're not selling you the stuff. That really, what the companies want is your information, and ultimately to put it right back and have Facebook be the face of everything again, and you go through Google only, yada, 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 right? So because of that, what happened is TikTok was never voted to go away. A lot of you guys think that TikTok's going away. What was actually voted on, because they couldn't get rid of it, because they can't prove, the United States government can't really prove what they're saying against TikTok. So what they did is they said, okay, by law, because there's freedom of speech, so by law, we can't necessarily get rid of your company. But what we can do is we can tell Apple, or at least we can kind of force it, enough stuff to force Apple and Google Play and other platforms to take it off. So TikTok, even if TikTok does go away, is not actually going to go away, right? Right. So yeah, exactly. They're trying to take over. So TikTok's not really going to go away. What would happen is I think they said January 18th, something like that. What would happen is TikTok would not go away. TikTok would actually just not be able to be downloaded anymore. So that means that if you have TikTok, you still can use TikTok, right? As long as you have it downloaded before whatever that date in January is. Now, if now I don't even think that's going to happen. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not saying anything prophetic. Just looking at it, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen because remember who started it was Donald Trump. So all the Trump supporters and everything got on that. TikTok's bad for America. If you're pro TikTok, you're anti-American. That's why even we have Clapper, because Clapper was supposed to be a response to TikTok taking down your stuff, yada yada yada, right? So Clapper, if you even use the Clapper app, besides just with us, is very pro right wing. Excuse me, sorry. But basically, what's happened with that is that Donald Trump now, right, started running for office again, and the reason why the doubt came in is while he was running, and then of course he won the presidential race in the United States of America. Excuse me one second, y'all. I'm sorry. Excuse me. So he won, and when Donald Trump won the race or whatever, what happens is that all these persons go, okay, surely he's gonna come in, and as he's running, surely he's gonna be saying he's anti-TikTok, blah blah. But funny thing, a lot of conservatives like TikTok, and they use it, and they themselves voice concern like, well, we don't know if we'll be able to start over, yada yada yada. So guess what Donald Trump does? He got to listen to, the polls, the people, the politics, and he says what? He says, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll. Or actually, he just basically came when he started running again. They started asking about TikTok. He was like, "I ain't got no problem with TikTok." That's basically his response, like TikTok straight. So everybody kind of looking at him like, "We started all this because you said China, 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 TikTok bad." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I ain't really pressed about it." He's like, "TikTok straight." So whatever they need to do business wise, and also the fact that a lot of the persons that are going to keep him in power are saying, they like TikTok. He kind of like, "Yo, I don't really care." So since that's the case, I don't believe, right? So probably all these persons. Remember, he got Congress in his pocket now, right? And even Democrats, they've been flipping and flopping, trying to get these votes. So they just been following his lead on that. So I'm just telling you, more than likely, right? He's gonna be like when they try to start doing the stuff and people make us think about it. He's probably gonna be like, no, we need to keep it, and they'll probably just all that stuff that they did, they'll ball it up and throw it in the trash. And it'll be another moment where once again, once a year, a couple times a year, you guys hear how TikTok's going away, and it's probably gonna stay in place. So we have Lemon 8, Lemon 8 as an option for an app. Lemon 8, Lemon, the number 8. It's TikTok owned. Just in case there's this period of time to where you can't download TikTok. Remember, you still can come on TikTok, but I'll try to see if I can have another device going. And if we have to transition over time, you guys can be on TikTok and Lemon 8. But as long as you don't get rid of TikTok, you still have access. Now, for those of you who don't know how to use it, I would also suggest getting into some VPN stuff. If you know how VPN works, basically you usually pay for the service if you want the best kind, but you can bounce your stuff off of different IP addresses and different things so that whatever device you're using, nobody knows where it is. So if there's a place to where TikTok's still allowed, all you do is you bounce your stuff over to that place, and then you can still watch or do whatever you're doing in TikTok. Especially if you're somebody who's been, especially if you've been, especially if you've been someone who's obviously dedicated and trying to get stuff going through TikTok, and that's your main source of views or income or whatever the case might be. I would suggest that you get into that so you can use it on your own and still be able to get stuff done. But also your customers who are doing stuff, or those who watch you might want to suggest to them. But Lemon 8 is an alternative for us. So I haven't posted anything on there yet. I'm gonna try and start posting videos on there. But basically, it's TikTok owned. It's supposed to be set up pretty much the same way. You get on there real quick, same way you do when you start all these social media apps, tell it what you want to see and blah, blah. But then with Lemon 8, what it does is once it says, okay, let's go, when it sets up, you'll actually see whoever's on TikTok and has Lemon 8, they will automatically be your friends again. Whoever's on TikTok and has limit 8, they'll automatically be your followers again. Whoever has TikTok and limit 8, I'm assuming if you follow them, then you'll still be following them. So it's the same company, same information. So we're doing that. We're going to start putting stuff on there. I'm not ready to go live on there yet, but I just wanted to let you guys know that's what we're leaning towards. So you'll hear me mention limit 8 quite a bit, at least through January. And if on January they won't allow you to download TikTok anymore, you can still follow us on TikTok. You can still watch what's going on TikTok. We'll still be building through TikTok. But that being said, we'll have an alternative of limit 8 if we have to go that route, and we can still continue to ensure, right, that we're moving and growing. Okay? So just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully you guys check that out on your own time. And if you hear anybody mentioning limit 8, that's what we're doing. And I would even suggest for your own personal stuff, if you want to keep up your connections that you have through TikTok, that's probably the easiest route to go in case stuff doesn't work. All right, praise God. So let's go ahead and say shalom to everybody. We're gonna be talking about the book today. I'm not sure how much of the book we'll use, but we're gonna talk about tomorrow is really our last day of this series. And by the way, Wednesdays is normally my day off. I will be on this Wednesday just because it's Christmas and we're gonna talk about the truth about Christmas. So I'll actually be on this Wednesday. So I'll see you guys this Wednesday, not because we celebrate, but because we're going to talk about the truth about Christmas. All right. I'll take the Wednesday. The following Wednesday, I will be off. All right. Just to let you guys know. But thank you for being on. Preacher, love you. Thank you for allowing me to make those announcements. Once again, the big one is for us. Don't forget this Saturday coming up, Women in Red. That also means when we go on Zoom, sisters, we're asking that you wear your best red. Brothers, you can wear your red as well, but obviously, just like we did with Brothers in Black, the day is really for our sisters and not for us. So sisters, if you can come on, have your best red on. I don't know if y'all do the hats or if you do just some nice symbolic stuff. If you're going to have I was about to say barrettes. Do sisters even do barrettes anymore? I don't even know. Barrettes, whatever y'all do, forgive me for not being up on the style. I love the style, but obviously it's not something that I'm into, right? So, but personally, but love y'all. I hope y'all come out and invite whatever sisters you like to. Just make sure they know culturally what's going on so that they're not offended by some of the stuff that's going to happen, if there's anything offensive that will happen. Remember, too, that we have an attire tee. I'll try to start putting it up more. I've been putting it up on the shout out. I'll try to make sure I put it up some more and leave it up there where there's ingredients for the tea, and there's specific things that we're going to ask for you to do. So if you got teapot, I think it's best. I'll ask Elder Alma one of these days at the end, maybe come on and make sure we have the right information. Maybe on Thursday, Friday, she can remind us of the actual ingredients. But we'll make sure. But there's ingredients. I think it's best to have 2 tea. I don't know if it'd be tea kettle, tea pot, whatever. I have 2 of them ready, and you also have 2 cups, or if you're going to be serving, because I know sometimes you're supposed to go back and forth. So those of you who've been with us in times past, you've seen, a couple times, I think even 2-3 years ago, you actually saw every single thing as far as her even preparing it. I'm going to see if this year I can even have a little setup where you guys can see the preparation that she's doing and watch her hands and stuff like that if you want to follow along with it. It is a West African ceremony that's actually from a group of West Africans who are Israelite. So it's something that we keep. So it is actually something that's cultural, and we like to make sure that we do it for our sisters. So as we said, I think the time's pretty much probably too short because we haven't really gotten any orders or anybody saying they want it. But the ingredients are literally things you can go to the store buy for cheap. So, no need for us to make extra money. And to be honest, to make extra work for us, to be honest. But no reason to make extra money off of something that really we don't need to do. Like you could, literally get some things that are even like little tubes of stuff you can buy, and you'll be able to make the stuff yourself. So just kind of pay attention to those instructions when they're on. When we put them on a shout out, I'll try to talk to Elder Alma and see if maybe on Thursday and Friday at the end, or just whenever she can during the live session, she can come on, just let you guys know this is how we do boom, 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 and then we'll go from there. All right? Okay. And also, too, for this setup on TikTok, more than likely, I didn't check it yet. They're supposed to get at least 24 hours. More than likely, we're not going to be able to go to Kofi_43 until December the 30th. So if you're looking for us in the live sessions and the Rising on TikTok, make sure that you go through and look for us here on Kofi_40, the original channel. Alrighty, I've talked enough. All right, thank you all for being on. Love y'all. Hopefully you all are doing well. And thank you guys for coming up for Early Rise of Bible Study session. We're thankful and grateful for Apostle Dr. Tamach and all that she continues to do and the teaching that she gave on this rising. Aman, it is recorded. You should be able to see it on Patreon. I'll try to make sure that it pops up very soon. Also, too, Minister Yasav's Shabbat teaching. I don't think we uploaded it yet, so we should be seeing that pop up on social media as well if you're looking for that. And then the one from Saturday with Minister Shante should be popping up shortly as well. Alrighty, so we're going to be talking about the book. I don't know how much we're actually going to go into it today, but we will be talking about the book. The book is the United Independent Compensatory Code / System / Concept by Neely Fuller Jr. I'm not sure if we're going to go into it that much today, but we will be talking from the prism of it, and then we'll finish this dynamic series tomorrow. And shalom to everybody. Peace. Let's say hello. We're gonna, if you can stand to your feet in reverence of Yahweh's word as we get ready to say the Bible pledge, if you're able, or however you can reverence the word. We thank you for doing so in advance. How you doing, Tamika? How you doing? And everybody, once again, on all platforms, thank you for being on. How you doing, Tamika? How you doing, Sister Renee? Can you get it on Facebook? Yeah. Okay. Amen. Yes, Sister Renee. Matter of fact, if you don't see it before we talk, just send me a reminder. How you doing, Culture Prospect? How you doing, Stan? How you doing, Sister Dawn? Hopefully you're feeling better. How you doing, Dwayne? How you doing, Minister Shante? Minister Anais? Hopefully you've had those daddy hugs and everything. Hopefully Dad made it in safe and everything. How you doing, Minister Stephen? I'm glad to see you on. How you doing, Cecilia? How you doing? I am Southern Queen. Thanks for being part of the community. Jonathan, please forgive me. I'm going to say this wrong. Kibichi? Kibichi? I'm not sure. Kibichiy. How you doing, Sister Shirley? Aman, how you doing, Sister Mignon? Broody Charlie. Let's see. Love the life. Is that G? Maybe that's not G. I think that's G or G. Right. What up though? Is I in the right area? I can't remember. Are you in the D, Detroit? I believe, right? How you doing, Tabitha? Everybody, Darius, Danielle, Joseph. Prayerfully, you guys are doing well and starting everything as far as the coaching with Minister Yasav and Minister Elishua. How you doing, Darius? How you doing, Sister Shima, Raiden, Dr. T? Thank you again for this rising. Cage, I think I said Sister Shima. Shalom. Is it? I don't know. Tiffad, TIFF, or Tiff? Oh, Tiff ADHD Wellness. There we go. All right. How you doing? Coach Mason, Lottie, everybody on all platforms. If I miss your name, once again, charge to my head, not to my heart. We love y'all. How you doing? How you doing, Carl? Hola, ¿cómo está mi hermana? Sister Sherry. How you doing, Sister Michelle? Sorry about the confusion and stuff. Glad you were able to get on. Not sure what was happening. I clicked on your name and it just basically kind of had dots. Or, so sometimes that happens. I'm not sure why that happens. How you doing, Raw? How you doing, Jennifer? I don't know how to pronounce it. Sayaso? You said they sell our data to foreign. The calls are endless. Yep. Most definitely. How you doing, Barry Douglas? Carl McKenzie. Single Track. Thank you for being part of the community. C. Lloyd. Mr. Ghetto. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. How you doing, Sister Monica? Glad to see you on. How you doing, Fashion? How you doing? Cool. Everybody, once again, if I miss you, please forgive me. We're excited to have you on. I love Flourish. I love Florida. Sorry. Desserts by is Moni, Robs, James, Francis, Charles, Roderick. Everybody, we appreciate love you. All righty. Minister Tamara, Rodney. I know I'm missing somebody at this point. Please forgive me. Malik, Candy B, is it? Xavier, Jerry or Gary, Soldier of God. All right, how you doing? Juan Lorenzo, Shoni and Big E. Love. Zion. All righty. Ty Skippy. Everybody. Wow, come on in. La Red got a lot of new names popped up today. That's all right. I guess because we're not used to having this site up. How you doing? Persona Stereo. Pep in your step. Rispa, Justin, okay, Trini, Mama Sauce, everybody. Angry Girl. I feel like Angry Girl's been on but not for a while. Lewis Brown, Free the God, Mikey Reds, Joy Boy, Tyree, user 38104384286, something like that. Let's see. King Leslie, Norman Yeltsin, and that's as far back as it'll let me go. So if I miss you and you came on before that, please forgive me. Love y'all to life. How you doing, Big Roy? Alrighty. Sister Sabrea, everybody, come on in. Brother Dwayne, love y'all to life. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you want to go ahead, put your right hand in the air, or you want to put your device in the air, or you want to put your Bible in the air, you can just repeat after me, and let's get into it. Praise God. Alrighty. How you doing, Brother TJ? Excuse me, Brother Dwayne. All right, I see y'all over here too. All right, here we go. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahweh. Amen. This is in Yahweh's name, his authority. Amen. All right. So we've been coming out of this book once again for a while. Not just the Bible, of course. But the United Independent Compensatory Code / System / Concept by Neely Fuller Jr. And we've been doing this now. This is part 10. We'll finish up tomorrow with part 11. And it's been a great book to kind of open our eyes. Now, it's a workbook. It's a guidebook. It's a handbook. It's something you're supposed to take time out to read. And there's hundreds and hundreds of pages of the book. So we obviously in 11 parts have not, 11 parts as of tomorrow, will not be able to go through it in its entirety. Right? That's not the goal of this, because it is written where you're supposed to read it and do the work. The author of it literally says, this is for you to take time out and read it at least once all the way through thoroughly and to comprehend different things, because it's a code book as well. It's talking about language. So what does it mean when somebody else from another diaspora tells you this? What does it mean when we say this, right? This is supposed to be the standard. And he's been working in this stuff. How you doing, Sister Taya? He's been working in this since the 1960s. Right, and if you know persons like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, or even Cloud Anderson, or even later on persons like Dr. Amos Wilson, who get into the fray, who's passed away, but so is Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. But if you know names in that arena, right, these are names that are not as popular, but do proceed and have heavily influenced even some of the persons you would listen to today. Even somebody like a Dr. Umar Johnson, or even a Sister Soldier. If you're in the Sister Soldier, even different persons of that ilk. And they have informed a lot of things in our community, a lot of thinking in our community. Not enough, unfortunately, but a lot of thinking. And they also kind of are these names, these heavy hitters, they kind of are a stopgap, if you will. They kind of are persons we can say, all right, we've had teachings that continue to move since Malcolm, since Martin, since, Medgar, since Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, et cetera, et cetera. We've had these names and these giants, right? Even if they're not giants to everybody else, they're persons who have, really influenced us. What were you saying? Sorry, you didn't spell it. Oh, Sister Soldier, yeah. So there's a lot of persons who we look up to today, and even more, right? Even some persons are probably more affected by this if you know, for example, the name, even though he's more going to be closer to Hebrew Israelite. I don't think he would call himself that, but his teachings pretty much are kind of a stopgap or even a bridge from persons who were in the church coming out. So you probably heard of somebody like, if you've been on YouTube, Truth Unedited. Maybe you've heard that name before as well. And if Truth Unedited is somebody, if you're going to watch this stuff, I feel like you need to go back to his first episode, his first, whatever he would call it, right on YouTube, his first post, and then watch all those. But a lot of these persons that you're hearing about, persons like Neely Fuller Jr., even if they don't know the name, there's no way you can escape his speaking, his speeches, his teaching, what he was saying. And nowadays he looks like a prophet. Pretty much everything he was saying was going to happen has kind of happened. And he saw it through the prism of racism, white supremacy. This is the goal, to make sure that brothers are effeminate, or that sisters become masculine, or that we fight one another, or we don't talk about basic human rights. But he's using a code to help us to make sure that we have a different way of thought. And this should make sense to us, because we know that we even went through a series not too long ago, or maybe some years ago, a couple years ago at the most. But called where we talked about the code. And we talked about how when you even read your Bible, you have to know the code and you have to know what was original. And you have to know whenever you see God, it's always going to be Elohim or Elohim. And whenever you see Lord, all caps, you got to know that's Yahweh or Yahweh or Yahuwah, etc. Right? And we talked about that there's a code. Even Christ himself, when asked, why do you always speak to them in parables or speak to them in code? He says, what? It's not for them to know the mysteries of the kingdom, but it is for you. Right? So even in the kingdom, there's certain things that we should be okay with speaking in code, and certain things are not going to translate to everyone else. So even as much as I speak and preach and teach and others come up and speak and preach and teach, and you might have to walk around and speak and preach and teach. Some things just don't translate unless you live it and unless you know the code. You got to be in on the mystery, and the mysteries are not to be revealed to everyone. A mystery is something that wants to be revealed, but if you're not somebody who speaks the language or the code or lives the culture, certain things will never translate. Right? How you doing, brother? All praises. How you doing, twin? Thanks for being on. So today, the focus of today's lesson in part 10 of this series is really going to be on um, on color, and I'll say it like this: on be aware of those who don't see color. Does that make sense? Magnify, amen. You got to look through that lens. That's right. Come on, right? Magnify doesn't just mean to make bigger. In order to magnify, you have to first look through the lens, right? And once you look through the lens, then the lens determines what is magnified, right? Praise Yah. So today we're going to talk about this whole thing of I don't see color. Now, I don't mind you loving different colors. That's not the conversation for today, right? Those who say they're colorblind. What we have to talk about today is those who don't see color, right? And remember yesterday out of the book, when we started in the 150s, page 150, I think we actually started on page 150. If you look in the book, you'll even see that that's a problem because if you recall, we learned yesterday, you should never ever either accept an answer or even give an answer, even if it means you have to wait on giving an answer. You should never try to answer a question or even accept the answer to a question, right? And that doesn't lead to truth. Now we know that you should give facts, but just because one gives a fact can be distorted. The goal is not to give an answer that gives a fact. The goal is to give an answer that provides facts, context, but ultimately leads to truth. If what you are saying does not reveal truth, then who cares what the fact is, right? So don't get stuck in facts over feelings. You've heard that quite a bit, especially now. Right? Like last what 4 years, 5 years or so. That's been really big. Feelings don't, or facts don't care nothing about your feelings. Everybody's been saying that no matter if you're white, black, racist, not racist, supremacist, not supremacist, if you're woke, sleep, whatever. If you're Republican, Democrat, everybody loves to say that. If you're in the United States of America, if you're in England, everybody loves to tell you facts over feelings. But we've told you before, first of all, feelings are very factual. But that's why we say feelings, even if they're facts, and facts within themselves without proper context is never going to reveal truth, right? It's a fact that the sky is blue. It's a fact, right? By the way, watch this. It's a fact that there's a book written on the world being round. You know that's a fact, right? But the person who wrote the book was part of a Jesuit priesthood. Jesuit priesthood was made by the Pope's family, right? By the way, a lot of persons, because we think about, once again, you think only about evil as white or black. The Pope who forced the book to be written by Nicholas Copernicus, and then took his life, and then while he was on his deathbed, put that information out, put the book out, which in the beginning of the book, Nicholas Copernicus says that they're forcing me to do this. I don't really want to put this out. Right? It's actually in the introduction to the book. The Pope who did that, his family was black, or what we would call black today, right? His family was black. How you doing, Brother Lamar? Right? It was a deception, and they got together with the Borgia family. That's why the both of those families, right? Cesare Borgia comes out of the family that the Pope, his father, was a Borgia, right? That's why his last name is Borgia, Cesare Borgia, right? And so Cesare Borgia's family right? The Borgia family, who got the power to become Pope. Also, you deal with, rewind before them, the family that's right before them is a black family, who, and they came together. They were trying to protect stuff, and they were starting to have trade, and they were starting to take over the whole world as far as trade. And one of the ways you do that is you have to control the way that everything's sent and shipped. And so, in order to do that, you come up with something to make it to where everybody's governed around what you're doing. So, the Roman Catholic Church was not even the ones, it was not a Roman Catholic move. It was actually a family business move to start making you think that the world was round. I know they want you to believe that Kemet believed that the world was round, but no, they believed in Noon. Noon is the one that had that sun on her head. And so when the sun came over your head and she was over your head directly, they believed that that was Noon. They believed the sun went around the earth. Right? My son and I, we were out at out in the park a few days ago with Mama, and I like to quiz them on stuff every once in a while, even simple things like, hey, where's west? Where's east? Where's north? Where's south? Just little things like that on the position of the sun. And we had some fun because the sun was out, and as the Bible said, we could see the moon during the day. Many of you have seen that, but the Bible declares that the sun comes out of a chariot, right? Goes around the earth, runs a race around the track, and it goes back in, and it says the moon follows the same track. So as we saw the sun moving, we were having fun because we were like, the way we saw the sun move, we saw the moon move, right? That was a belief system of many persons in Africa. So this whole weird thing of everybody in Africa always believed. That's something that comes out of a supremacist state because this family. So this wasn't even racism, white supremacy that deals with the earth has to be round. The earth had to be round was actually a business move by a so-called black family and a so-called white family, right? Right, and then eventually over time, right, some of the so-called white families that are making money do the same thing. This is why even when it comes to those families that are into racism, white supremacy, dealing with war situations, when you get a missile, right? If you've ever launched a missile, I never have, but if you talk to somebody or read a book on launching a missile, if you ever get, an instruction book, even missiles come with instructions, but you're not supposed to just not know how a missile works or how the technology works. You're gonna mess something up, right? So even if you read a book on a missile, guess what you'll find is that in the book it says clearly that in order for you to hit your target, you have to assume that the earth is flat. It says it in the book. Right? Now I want you to go ahead, go through the rabbit hole yourself. Don't believe me just because I said it. Watch some videos, do some stuff. There's even some scientists will try to just even if you look it up, type it in. Scientist tells you why. If you want to even look at the other side of it, type in scientist tells you why you have to pretend the Earth is flat in order to fire a missile. But you have to pretend the Earth is flat, so to speak. You have to believe like you cannot put coordinates into the machine off of a curvature. It won't work, right? If somebody launches a missile, if somebody were to launch a nuke, if somebody were to do whatever, you have to assume that the Earth is flat. You have to, right? That's the bottom line, right? If you're going, that means also too. Somebody help me out with this. Now we're going somewhere, I promise you, but just help me out with this. I know we're talking about being colorblind. I just want to lay down some stuff for you that it's not as simple. When we say colorblind, that's why we can't get colorblind as well, as the book teaches us, and believe that every black person is always righteous. Right? They might be going through the same thing, right? To calculate. But watch this. What else is what other thing launches that we don't necessarily think of a missile, but is a missile? There's something that launches a lot throughout the year in different places throughout the world, right? I'll give you a hint. A lot of you know that it launches in Florida. A lot of you know that they launch a lot of them from Texas. Not necessarily a bullet, right? Not necessarily a bullet. But what are we looking at? Satellites, right? But what would you use to get the satellite? Also, too, not just satellites, but even people go up in these. What would you use? What would you launch? What else do you launch? Satellites, spaceships, right? Now, how you doing, Brother Javon? I don't think I mentioned you by name earlier, right? So if you do these things, that means in order to launch a missile, right? Stay with me now. That means you have to assume that the Earth that you're launching it from is what? How you doing, Draco? Right. A fuel rocket. Yep. Same thing. Right. Attached to the ship. So in order to launch any missile, if you read the directions and read the instructions, that means that you have to actually think different. Now, I'm saying that once again to try and get a few things going to you. Not only is it not as simple as white versus black, but also a fact does not mean, right, that there's not context to it. That's why I say go read the context, go down the rabbit hole for yourself, right? But don't get into this thing. These are all considered to be theories. Even Copernicus's theory about the world being round, it was never a fact. When you go read the book, it says this is a theory. So nobody knew if this theory even, was credible. And a lot of persons, contrary to popular belief, were actually offed, right, because they believed that it was wrong to teach. Even when those of you who are Lutherans, if you look at Martin Luther's teachings, Martin Luther had a problem with them teaching this. He said, if you change if you're trying to make this now where everything is centered around the sun and not centered around the earth, he said, we have a problem, because that means that what creation is supposed to be, according to the word, is changed. When you change the code, right, or when you change the truth, right, because we're not talking about the fact. If you use facts to change the truth, then you change the way that we live. You also change the way we speak. You change the code, and you're even trying to change what Yah says. So you're changing the code. That's one of the things Martin Luther had an issue with. Not just only that we only are taught. Martin Luther had an issue with, the language was only in Latin, in Greek, and those who weren't educated had no clue on how to comprehend what you were saying, so they just had to outright believe whatever was being said. They didn't even know what Espiritu Santo was. They just went ahead with it, and that's one of the most simple things you could have. Yeah, those things are very true, but he also was like, hey, this creation thing you messing with, this whole thing of we know what the earth is, and now you're trying to say there's something different. And the person that you did it was somebody who was a Jesuit. You had actually, this person was without their family members. You made them a cardinal. This cardinal, you allowed them to have relationships with their own cousin, and you let them be in sin and everything, as long as they wrote this thing for you, and the person doesn't even agree with it. He said, this is going to be problematic. Over time, you're going to change the way that persons look at the word. So now over time, right? And then eventually we see what has happened over these hundreds of years. Right, and by the way, he is the African Pope, or the Black Pope, who was over it, is the I gotta look it up. If you look up who his great grandson is, he's not that far removed from modern times. His great grandson is somebody that you see pop up and taking power and stuff like that over the world. Maybe it'll click in a little bit, but if you do the research of who that Pope was and look up his great grandson, right, you'll see this whole thing, right, is a setup and it's a moneymaker, right? So you see this whole thing as a setup, it's a moneymaker. And I have to find, I'm gonna see if I can find a video. One of the things, if I see something, the one that opened my eyes to it, and then I had to go do some research, of course, but the one that opened my eyes to it is on Facebook. And whenever I see a Facebook video, it's difficult for me to go back. I don't know how to do the history. Somebody gonna have to teach me how to look up what you looked up before on Facebook, because it's a whole convoluted thing for me. I can't figure it out. But if I can find the video again, or somebody can help me to look through my history, I'll try to post the video for you guys to watch for yourself, and then you can do the research and know where to look. Right. How you doing, Henry? How you doing, is it Sergeant Daggum? You said they ran with it because it sounded so great. Well, that too, right? And really, a lot of us are ignorant. So I say all that once again about the facts. So remember yesterday we talked about facts. Facts are not enough. The book taught us, right? This book, once again, the United Independent Compensatory Code / System / Concept by Neely, Neely Fuller, Fuller Jr. And I've been using the version of it that if you literally type in his name, Neely Fuller Jr. PDF, it should pop right up on your screen. But if you look through all the stuff, you'll find very quickly that he's giving you bars. And he's saying, yo, if you are going to teach anything, speak anything, answer any question, get an answer of any question, do not just get stuck on facts, but look for context, and context and facts going together, right? Look for it to get you to a place where you're getting justice and correctness, and ultimately everything that's said should reveal truth. If it does not reveal truth, you should not use it as an answer, right? So that's what we're going to talk about with this color situation today, right? And so those who say that they can't see color, they won't see color, they're blind to color, We have a problem because if you cannot see color, we have an issue that pops up because those who cannot see color do not see at a certain standard. Salah, right? Ultimately, those who cannot see color or even put a blindfold on so they cannot see, they can be led into a ditch by somebody else who has a blindfold on. How you doing, KGV 2362? How you doing? Is it couldn't see the whole name. Sanaya, was it? Sonia Official Walton. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Right? So those who cannot see color, we got a problem. How you doing, Amy? Those who tell you they don't see color refuse to see you. Yeah, and it goes ultimately to that. But those who cannot see color, you have a problem because if you have a blind spot, and for some reason we're trying to uplift blindness. Now, look, I'm not saying that somebody who's blind doesn't have different ways of seeing things, so to speak, and I'm not saying somebody who's blind, right, should be looked down in some kind of weird ableist fashion, as persons would say today. That being said, though, those who are blind have a deficiency, right? Like you can eat food and not be able to taste, but it's still a deficiency. There are persons that can't feel pain. It's very, very, very rare. But there's persons that can't feel pain. But you think about, oh man, like a superhero, man, you can't feel pain, this and that. I don't know. If you can't feel pain, you don't know if something's hot. Right, Tony Dungy, some of you heard about Tony Dungy's son who unfortunately unalived himself. He also has another son that it was difficult to raise that child because that child cannot feel pain. And you say difficult, well, I mean, this and that, but no. Like, if that child broke their bone, the pain tells you you need to get it fixed. They'll keep using it and hurting it and hurting it and hurting it, and not know until all of a sudden they can't move. Or their child loved the taste of cookies, right? Right? So their child, I mean, if that's what you feel it needs to be as a way of control, so be it. I'd like to be able to make sure that there's something that tells me something's going wrong, especially if I'm created to make sure that I shouldn't just be doing anything. Some of you just want to do whatever you want. That's not how nature works. With that being said, right, if I'm in a position where, or sorry, so the child would be in a position to where he likes cookies, right? The cookies are hot. You don't need to reach in the oven if you like the cookies to go to where they're supposed to be, right? Even once they're finished, you're supposed to let them sit and cool. The child reaches in the oven, and the child not only pulls out a cookie and doesn't feel that it's burning the skin, causing blisters and stuff, puts it in his mouth hot, swallows it hot. All these things start to blister. Now all of a sudden he's choking because everything on the inside is messed up and swollen. His tongue is swollen, right? And he doesn't feel it. But he knows he can't breathe. It's too late though because there was nothing painful, right? One of the reasons you know you shouldn't touch fire is even though your parents told you that don't touch that, don't touch it, don't touch that, it's hot. Some of y'all still had to go, and when you touch it, and then you know, okay. Some of y'all raised in the radiator generation, right? Where we had radiators in the apartments and in the houses, right? And you touch the radiator, you're not supposed to, but something said, I want to touch this, and you touch it. And because you touched it, you realize, oh, I know what heat is. I know I don't need anybody to give me further instruction on heat. Like I know what this is. I know that this hurts. right? Right? Yeah, like mama said don't touch that pot for some reason in your mind. Or you was just cooking and you didn't even realize it. You had your wrist too close. You was doing stuff with the flick of the wrist and you flicked it wrong and all of a sudden, oh, or you didn't have that pot holder in your hand because you thought you had the pot. I've done this, even I do this even nowadays sometimes, where I'll be forgetting which ones you got to have the pot holder for and which ones you don't. And I reach over there and I put my hand on it. Oh, and I'm like, dang, that's right. I need the pot holder for this one, right? It's something to let you know you're going into dangerous territory. But for a lot of persons, right, they believe that you shouldn't know that you have a deficiency. Right? A lot of persons believe that you shouldn't know that you should have a deficiency. Oh, you done stuck your hand in a hot wax machine? Actually, I think I did that once. I did it in school when we was using the glue wax or whatever. Right? I don't know about the some of the other. I done seen the hot wax machines y'all be using for. What y'all be using it for? Or I guess you just be using it on your body, right? But ultimately, I'm just trying to say, in general, there's you have pain receptors. The pain receptors allow us to know we probably shouldn't do this, right? If you like me, right, one of the reasons I had to take a day off is because on Kung Fu on Tuesday night, we were doing our jump kicks and doing all that stuff on last week, and I did my little thing. I did my thing, jump up in the air. I'm doing what the 20-something-year-olds are doing. I'm doing it well. I'm like, man, I'm not feeling anything, this and that. I'm landing, I'm kicking with my right foot. I'm landing on my left foot. Trying to do my double kicks. Man, I'm feeling all right. Like I feel a little bit of pain. But as soon as I start walking away, start limping a little bit, next day, I'm struggling, but guess what? I haven't pushed myself in that area. So, but guess what? The pain is not even though it was hard to walk, the pain is a reminder not only of my age, but also it's a reminder if I really want to do this on a regular basis, I got to do this on a regular basis. I have to become a practitioner of this. So even though I realized I could do something that I thought was 15, 20 years behind me, it doesn't mean that I can't practice. I should just randomly pull it out and think there's not going to be any consequence. I've got to do it every day in order to maintain the health and the muscles to be able to do it all the time, right? So it's one thing to think you can do a thing and to know you even have the capability, but because you're not practicing it, sometimes even pain happens. Like a lot of times you guys are like, man, it's tough to do this, blah, blah. I used to pray all the time, blah, blah, and I haven't done it in a while, and now I'm doing it. And why is it so tough? Because you got to push through that. This is a muscle. I used to have such a great memory, this and that, but guess what? You don't have to remember 50 telephone numbers. Back in the day, I used to take it as a pride thing. I better have at least 20 to 25 numbers memorized. And they wasn't even numbers, it was 20 to 25 persons' information. So for like 10 of them, I had to know your address, I had to know your phone number, I had to know all that by my brain. Now, I don't have to do that because I can simply put it in a machine, have you put it in a machine, it pops up somewhere else. And so if I need your address, I just go and I look. Right? So because I haven't exercised that muscle, I have great memory in other places. But if you were to say, tell me, um, tell me SJ's number right now, on top of your head. Tell me Dr. T's number on top of your head. Tell me Bruder Charlie's number off the top of your head. Tell me Double OG, Triple OG's number just on top of your head. I couldn't do it. And it used to be if I saw your number, I probably was going to be able to remember the last 7 digits. Especially if we were in the same area code, I'd have the last 7 digits, even if I only looked at it once or twice. I had a whole system in my head set up. I got to look at the last four. I had to do some kind of stuff to make sure I would give myself a little rhyme for you. And you go through it was called a mental map. Some of y'all know about the mental map. And I could go from door to door to door in my head and be like, okay, so-and-so's here and so-and-so's this and blah, blah. And this number leads to this. And I could put a whole thing together for every single person that I knew. And I could go ahead and say, yeah, I know this number, this number, this number, this number, this number. Now, I don't have I have the same capability, but I have not exercised it in so long that that muscle is weak in that area, right? That's right. Muscle memory will speak. It'll come back, but it takes you there. You said you used to be a walking phone book, yeah, and you had to because of the times you were in, because of the situation you were in, right? So what they say, strong men, right? Strong men actually create things that cause weak times, right? And therefore, weak men come out of what the strong man made, because somebody strong was like, yeah, I got the ability to do this. But now that I don't have to do this the next generation. And so this is what happens with racism. If you study enough, racism, white supremacy, it takes it to where persons fight it and then it goes away. And they fight it and then it comes back. Kind of like the teaching Dr. T was talking about this rising for early rising Bible study session. You can have something, you can have a spirit, and you think, all right, and you deal with a spirit or whatever, you think that spirit's done away with, and it leaves, and so you don't make sure that you do the work to make sure that you are strong in that area and you have a strong defense, and then that spirit comes back, right? And as we've learned, racism, white supremacy is even a religion, because religion doesn't mean spiritual. Religion means what you do every day as a legion of persons or people. Is it making it a song to remember too? Yeah, one person, I can't remember. It was something like, this person had a number. It was like, besides the area code, it was like a simple number, but it was like, you know how like each tone had a song, so it's like da 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 da. I forget what it was. Like the last three were the same. It was like da 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 da, whatever it was, and I could go like, oh, okay, like I know that tone. I like, but that memory, right? Well, the same thing though is that a lot of persons become blind to racism because we have a rally. A lot of persons become blind to racism because there was a Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of persons become blind to racism because somebody preached about it from a pulpit once. A lot of persons become blind to racism because you say, hey, I make a lot of money. And since I make a lot of money, it doesn't exist. But just because I say a grizzly bear doesn't exist, because my experience has never seen one. So I've gone into the woods 55 times and I've never been mauled. I've never smelled one. I've never seen any signs, right? And somebody else gets mauled and I say, well, I don't know what your experience is, but that's not mine. It can't be. I don't deal with that. Or I used to deal with grizzly bears, but I moved to this side of the forest. So I haven't seen a grizzly bear for years. Why don't you just move to where I am? Right? There's really no such thing if you just move. We have persons that will speak in weird ways like that, and they have become blind to colorism. And when you become blind to something, once again, you must realize it's a deficiency. Yeah, some have been pacified as well, right? Some have been paid off to say that there's no racism. But if you act like something doesn't exist, right, then you act your way into a deficiency. If somebody cannot see, that's a deficiency. I know somebody, you ableist? No, it's not ableism. If somebody cannot see, there's a deficiency. Well, no. I can see because I have this cane, and it's not deficient because I can walk here. Okay, right? And there's technology made. Yeah, it helps you because of what? Because of your deficiency. That's why we have the Bible. That's why we have laws. That's why we have structure. That's why we have codes. That's why we have the culture we have, because there's some things that we cannot see. And so because of our being deficient in things that we should be able to see due to sin, missing the mark, falling short, and making decisions that are against the will of Yah, he has put certain things in place and even given us a code that we might be able to see the unseen. You see what I'm saying? Is that sugarcoating is detrimental to the soul? Mm-hmm. So many of us are not realizing that you're blind. If you can't see color, that's a deficiency, right? If you're going to drive, forget even getting behind an airplane. If you're going to drive a truck and get in the cab of a truck and work for a company, that company is going to say either you on your own, depending on how your contract works, or the company itself will send you to make sure that you get an eye exam. Correct? Why do you get an eye exam? Because you can't treat, even if you can see, we don't want persons to just see normal. We need to know that you can see not only with the cab, but also with the am I saying it right? The cab is the, am I saying it right? Truck is right. Y'all gonna have to help me out with the terminology. You got the truck, is the truck and the cab, or what is it? Somebody help me out real quick. I don't want to get this wrong. Right? It's gonna mess us up. Somebody gonna watch this later on and be like, what was he talking about? Right? So you had the cab. So the front is the truck and the back is the cab? Help me out. Am I correct? Am I correct on that? I'm gonna just assume yes, sir. Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, the truck is the trailer. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Trailer. Thank you. So you got the truck and the trailer, right? And so you're gonna have this trailer, right? I need you to see better than everybody else, but even in your seeing better than everybody else, you sit in the cab. That's what I thought. Yeah. So you sit in the cab of the truck and you got the trailer. Okay, cool. So even though you're in the cab, you can't treat the cab like you do the front seat of your car or in the front seat of a regular truck, right? And I need you to see better than others. Matter of fact, I need you to see things before they happen, right? I need you to see the things before they happen. I need you to see things better. I need you to even go at a different level. Why? Because you can't even be as close to cars as a car can, right? Some of y'all cars be like this close to each other, going 70 miles per hour. Truck, I can't have you do that. You got to see things, and you even got to give yourself the opportunity to be able to give some space in between. And then there's also something though, no matter how well you can see, no matter how great a truck driver you are, no matter how many points, right, your CDL license has, after all that, right, after all that, guess what else? After all that is concerned, after we deal with all this stuff, you still have a blind spot, depending on obviously the type of what you're, you know, what size vehicle I guess you're using. But we're gonna talk about the big joints, right? You still have a blind spot, right? And so you have, matter of fact, you can have several blind spots, right? And if you're not going to acknowledge that there's things you can't see, even as well as you see, even if you got way above 20/20 vision, if you will not acknowledge that there's things that you cannot see, you're going to get in trouble. Matter of fact, you're going to fail your tests, right? But if you get past the test somehow and finesse your way past that, you're going to have a problem because there's others who are driving around you, right? And they drive in a manner where they drive different than you because they don't think about driving around you. You have to drive as if you have blind spots, right? You're in a different context. You're in a different mode. You're in a different system. You're on the same road, but you're not. You're in a vehicle. You're in an automobile, but you're not, right? You're different. You're to be treated as different, right? Because you're driving the truck. And if somebody's driving around the truck, it doesn't respect the blind spots, right? So even though you're not a trucker, you should still learn the blind spots of the trucker. Because if not, you'll still get caught up. And it's not going to be the trucker's fault, it'll be yours. If the trucker can't see you behind them like this, and the trucker has to put on the brakes hard because of the weight of what the trucker's carrying, yeah, it'll actually take a little longer for it to go, but because of the reaction time that you have, even with less weight, you still smack into the back of that truck. That trucker has a blind spot when he's trying to get over and he's making it very clear, and you try to rush around, and all of a sudden you get run off the road. That's not the trucker's fault. That's your fault. But you don't believe, even though it's in the manual, your driver's manual, and all that stuff. You were like, well, I don't see the blind spot they see. I don't see truckers. I don't see the. So since I don't see how they see, I'm gonna just drive however I'm gonna drive. That's not how it works. When you're around a trucker, right? Matter of fact, there's times that I pay attention, especially when we take long cross country trips. I forget at first, and sometimes truckers will actually do things where they're trying to get your attention. Back in the day when my father was around, he always had a CB radio with him. I thought about getting one to have a CB radio because he used to always have a CB radio, and we make sure that we had something that was there and we'd listen to the truckers. I loved it. And we hear them talking back and forth, and they be talking about, oh, Smokey's coming up, and Smokey, Smokey the Bear, police officer, right? So they'd be like, oh, there's a Smokey coming. And so we knew this was way before you could even have that stuff added to your app and all that. That was the app. And we would listen to the truckers, and the truckers would be like, yeah, somebody's coming. So sometimes truckers will even make moves, and you'll be sitting there like, why are they doing it? And it'll snap, click, like, oh, they're not trying to let us pass. They see I'm speeding, they see blah, blah, and they'll sometimes on purpose be like, I'm going to cut you off, right? And then you realize, oh, had they not cut me off, I would have got a ticket. Like that used to be a thing where like truckers actually looked out not just for other truckers, but for each other, right? Sometimes they still do that. Right. You said step that in one. Yeah. So it takes the length of a football field. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you said you make sure you stay on the correct side. Yeah. How you doing, double OG, triple OG? Right. So you have to take into account that like, yeah, they have a blind spot, but there's also things they have to see different because they admit to the blind spot. Right. And here it is that if you're not careful, you'll go, well, I just because I don't see things the way the trucker sees it, I'm going to drive different. And then you get ran off the road. Now I'm saying all those things. Hopefully this makes sense. Like you can go different ways with that, but prayerfully this makes sense because there's a lot of persons who are walking around in this walk with a blind spot, right? Who are walking around with this spot where they say that I don't see color. And you got to realize that person, when they don't see color, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. And they riding different. And you can try your best to try and speed around them all you want. Come on, Holy Ghost, have your way. You can try your best to speed around them and say this and that and say it doesn't exist and say it's just something made up by man. It's man-made and we can get over. But guess what? Like you mess around and you be in the wrong position, you can still get it. Right? You can still get it. You swear you don't have to obey the rules, or you have, or hey, look, because I'm in this type of vehicle, because my family's like this, because I make this much money, I don't have to. You can still get the N word sprayed across your house, LeBron. Right? And it's dangerous because if one says it is willing, see, watch this. It'd be one thing if this was something that was natural, but when somebody's willing to not see color, knowing that it's unnatural, knowing it's a deficiency. In other words, there's somebody, you know how a person will put on glasses because they want to go ahead and make sure they can see color. They're colorblind. They make glasses for different persons depending on what kind of color blindness you deal with. And they will put it on and wow, I can see. You know, there's some persons who are trying their best to put on glasses that take away their ability to be able to see different things. Right, gamble with your life if you want. Those trucks are heavy, right? So there's a lot of persons, if we be honest, if we keep it a buck, who you playing with this thing, and you're playing with stuff, and you're sitting up there saying this thing will not crush me, and because I'm in this vehicle, man, I'm a white guy and I got black friends. You know, you playing in this vehicle. I'm a black man and I make this much money. I done made it. You're playing in this vehicle. Hey, man, I got a multiracial relationship, and our relationship is strong, and therefore there's no such thing as racism because I have an outlier. You playing with fire. Your pain receptors aren't there. You eating cookies and don't even realize your tongue is swollen. Right? Does this make sense? All the stuff we talked about, right? Like you got to catch it. That there are many persons who are doing whatever they can to keep playing with fire. You know, there's a lot of persons who realize that there's a truck called racism, white supremacy, but what they say is I'm blind. And one of the most dangerous things you could ever do is be on the same road with the truck called racism, white supremacy, and decide you're gonna go ahead and pass it. But first things first, let me put my blindfold on. But that's what you sound like. That's what a lot of persons sound like. I don't see color, black folk included. There ain't no such thing. Racism not real. I don't see color. You guys are just making it up. Blah blah. And you about to try and pass an 18-wheeler on a curb with yellow signs with arrows. And you said, but first things first, let me put my blindfold on. You shouldn't have your blindfold on when you're on the road, when you're living life, let alone when it comes to trying to pass racism, white supremacy. Uh-oh. That's what you sound like, though, right? When the person says that, that's what they sound like to me. I'm trying to go down the road, and I'm going to pass racism, white supremacy, but I can't see it. Y'all have a problem because you keep trying to be aware of it and stuff. But no, man, I'm going to go around it. And then because some persons go around it by nothing more than sheer grace. They say, see, everybody follow me. And then everybody keeps crashing. And everybody keeps losing their life. And they say, man, they're not following correct. Now it becomes something that you've made a religiosity. And you get to tell them why it is that they're dying because of it's their fault. Because you were the one that made it through. That's where racism, white supremacy has us. And being colorblind. Right? Now, here's another thing that we got to go into. We're going to talk about the reason why being colorblind is kind of wild. And persons trying to stay in being colorblind is a wild place to be. Is that the only reason why persons even say they can't see color is due to the fact that somebody made color something it wasn't supposed to be in the first place. You hear what I'm saying? The only reason why persons are trying to not see color is because somebody told you color is bad. If you get over the fact that color is not a bad thing, or if you get over the fact that the fact that color is not a bad thing, you wouldn't worry about whether you see it or not. Matter of fact, you would hope to see it because there's certain colors I'm looking for. I want there to be certain color in my fruit when I buy it. Right? I'm looking for certain colors to be able to tell this herb from that herb because sometimes a white carrot and a certain white carrot and another white carrot, or a white carrot and an orange carrot could mean two completely different things. I'm trying to see color because a green limon, right? Limon verde. Is that right? I know on the front it's vert, but like limon verde y limon amarillo, they're two different things. Right? I'm looking for color. I'm looking for color to tell if the banana or even the plantano or plantano is ripe. Right? Like I'm looking for color. If I see, matter of fact, I don't even like banana pudding like that. But I can see to you if somebody's going to make banana pudding. Technically, your banana pudding should be black if you're going to actually make it. But the reason why a lot of your banana pudding is yellow is because you're looking for somebody to put food coloring. So a lot of you are actually getting something that you shouldn't eat because you don't want to see a blackness in it, right? And it's not banana pudding if somebody doesn't change the color of it, right? Even with your food, there's a thing because in your mind, now this is not so much racism, white supremacy, but this is in your mind. They know that, hey, first of all, there is a thing of, okay, it's too black to eat, but also in your mind says, well, I probably maybe this isn't the best thing because also the blackness is also coming with more sugar and stuff, more sweetness, and also it's not necessarily ripe. I want it to be what's called overripe, which really isn't ripe, right? It's hyper ripe. It's too ripe. It's not in that sweet spot, so to speak. It's too sweet. But you if they were to serve most persons this black banana pudding, you wouldn't eat it. So what do? You put yellow food coloring in it, and you tell everybody. You even tell it it's natural because yeah, you put natural black, basically goop banana in there, but nobody wants to think about it that way. So if I tell you it's still banana yellow, your mind, even though your mind knows there's something, but you go, well, maybe they mashed it or maybe this. I don't know. Like if you have actual banana pudding, if it's real, it's not supposed to be yellow. But somebody wants to be blind to the reality of what they're eating. So go ahead and give it to me. Right? Somebody wants to be blind and say, man, what is a sour patch have, or what is there's another one I'm looking for, I can't remember the name, but why is a sour patch that color, why is it this that color, like that red doesn't make sense. But if you don't want to know that they're crushing a bug right up to get that color red, they just call it red food coloring, and so you just go with it. So you eat it, but you want it to be red. You want it to be distinct colors because hey, if there's different colors, it means every color must be a different fruit, right? No, you're not eating fruit at all, right? But they crush it up, and when they crush it up and they color it, you say, okay, cool, right? Your body can receive it because your body is ready to suspend disbelief. Remember that's what we talked about with movies and how there's suspension of disbelief. Your body is ready to suspend disbelief. Right? Even marshmallows. Matter of fact, marshmallows are interesting because marshmallows, made with pork and stuff, added in there and stuff. Sorry, YouTube, I'm gonna get it together. But marshmallows, actually, a marshmallow is an actual herb, right? But a lot of you probably wouldn't eat a marshmallow because you're so used to the sugar and things like that and used to different things being done. But an actual marshmallow is just a herb, right? Look it up. Right? But somebody's blind. We want to be blind to that. We don't want to have an extra marshmallow. We don't want to have something that's not super sweet. We don't want to have something that's not fluffy because it looks like da 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 da. How you doing, Brother Cole? Right? And the same thing with racism, white supremacy, because if we were to admit, let's be honest, especially most of us, if we were to admit that we put so much energy into HBCUs, and it was because they changed the color, and then we don't want to admit that, wait a minute, they changed the color so that we would go and think that it was something different. And in reality, that's how they got us. And I want you to see, that's why I'm trying to make it a point. Hopefully you're catching it. I'm not here to be anti-white. I'm here to show you that if you're not careful, racism, white supremacy will have you have to live under white supremacy and at the same time try to be anti-white. I don't even think somebody caught that. right? The system of racism, white supremacy is designed for colorism, right? In our own culture, light bright ain't light, and black dark as night ain't light, right? Let's just keep it about, right? If you red bone, we look at you different than if you mahogany. If you mahogany, we look at you different than if you, I don't know, than if you ebony. If you ebony, we look at you different than if you blue black, et cetera, et cetera. Right? If you light skinned, we automatically make certain assumptions about your girl. You know how she gonna act. She light skinned. Right? There's even all these things. We laugh at. I laugh at them. Can I be honest with you? I laugh at them because I get the joke. But it is kind of sad though. Like I laugh at the stuff where you'll see somebody and they'll be like, "This is how uh, um, light skinned lions roar." And then they show the dark skinned lion, they show the lion with the dark mane, and he roar, roar, all that, and then the light skinned lion roar, and he ooh, like it's funny. It's funny. Like I get it. It's not funny, but it's funny. I get it. I got a sense of humor, right? But the only reason why we think like that is because racism, white supremacy, Willie Lynch, have them fight against each other, light skin versus dark skin. As much as person keeps saying that if you get away, that right, racism, white supremacy is to get you to be so racism, white supremacy. The only reason why you think that color is bad, it's a result of for so many years, color being bad. If you go to a place and you start saying, you know what, man, your skin is popping. Love the fact that you got dark skin. Hey, your skin is popping. Love the fact that it's that it's tan. Hey, your skin is popping. I like the ebony skin. Yo, bruh, you know what, man? Don't let nobody tell you about it, whatever, man. You got like a nice light you going on, right? And that be part of the person. It doesn't have to, right? Like it's part of who I am. But what's happened is now the goal has gotten you to a place where now because you'll deny that you see color, even though there's a reason why there's AA, DEI, and that, by the way, you didn't make that up, right? Can I make it a point to tell you didn't make that up? We didn't make that up. I never put AA into effect. The person who have a problem with it, hey, I don't have a problem with it. But why do you even need AA in the military? You got to have 8A or AA in the military. Why? Because there was a time to where you could be Tuskegee Airman and you could not lose one group of persons that you're supposed to be protecting in the sky, and at the same time still be treated like an N-word all day, every day. So as a way to get past that, they told you color was bad for so long that now the persons who can't hide from the fact that they told you color was bad for so long, now they have to tell you we don't see it. And that way they still don't have to see you and have to acknowledge. Because if you see color and you know colorism exists, that means you have to see it and call it out. You said colorblind people and racism are usually policy blind as well. I mean, it can be that for sure, right? If you see, right, like if you say that there's no such thing and you can't see racism, then when that little boy, well, not little boy, he, probably teenager, early 20s, but when that little boy is walking through the neighborhood and those white guys are following him and one white guy is literally trying to go back in his car to pull that thing out on him, somebody gets to say, oh, no, I would do anything to anybody like that in my neighborhood. I've been somewhere where literally we were having a prayer service. I was doing a side hustle for DoorDash at the time. Not sure if it was SOC, might have been SOC related, not sure. Well, it was SOC. I'm not sure if it was y'all were coming on yet or it was still when we were doing the physical assembly. I think it was, oh, no. Well, I was doing SOC, but I was also still helping out at the church at the time. And we were doing prayer service. And in the middle of me praying, pulled over to the side of a car, right? Finished doing a DoorDash thing, whatever. And guess what? Guy comes out, forgive me, so-called white person comes out, and he just sitting there staring at me. I look up while I'm praying. My window's open. He can hear me praying. What you doing here? I'm praying. No, well, I don't understand. What were you doing here, though? I made a delivery over there. I got a few minutes where we need prayer. We're doing prayer service. I was asked to pray. I'm praying right now. You need to leave right now, right? That's because That's because a guy who looked like me was on the side. Now I get it, right? But at the same time, you watch me. I know you watched me go up to the house. I know you watched me talk to the person. I know you watched me go back to the car. And obviously, you were listening to me pray. Matter of fact, something in you, right? Watch this. Something in him recognized that it was holy enough that he should probably wait until I finished praying. But still, it was like, you need to go ahead and leave. Right? You see what I'm saying? So I finished, the prayer. I had seen him there, and I even looked up at him, kept on praying. Then I finished, talked to him, whatever. And then I had to actually say, y'all give me a second. Somebody did something for me real quick on the line. I got away from the spot or whatever, and then I was like, okay, I'm back. But you hear what I'm saying? Somebody wants to not acknowledge that exists. Nerds was the other one I was thinking of. Thank you, Tamika. Nerds. Nerds candy is the other one I was thinking about with the red crushed bugs, right? But these are things that are there. Right? Like, and persons want to, you have to be careful when somebody will not even acknowledge the existence of what's truly known. Right? When somebody will say you're supposed to remain blind to something, when somebody says, when somebody admits that they're saying like they don't want anything, like, you can say whatever you want. Some people will get mad at me, but if I'm going into the world, right, the wicked system, guess what I'm looking for? And you can say, well, that's why you finding it. Yeah, because it's there. I look for racism, white supremacy. It doesn't stop my day. It doesn't stop me from being cordial. I can feel like somebody's being racist and still shake their hand, look them in the eye, and say, have a great day. Might sound wild to you, but it ain't hurting me. It ain't harming my family. And prayerfully, they'll see something that maybe changes their perspective on who I am or who we are. But what I'm saying, though, is that I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going into the woods and somebody tells me there's grizzly bears there. You know what I'm saying? And if I go into the woods, somebody tell me there's grizzly bears, I'm only carrying certain type of ammunition, and I'm only going to be carrying, and I'm not going to be carrying just mace, I'm carrying bear mace. There's a difference. If you want a bear to get up off you, that mace, you might not make it through. Hopefully you make it through, but that mace, if it's powerful enough to get a bear away from you, that you go ahead and you might have a couple seconds to get to where you need to get to. Right? But some persons are telling you to go out there and not be equipped, even in the spirit. Because I don't want to only talk about the flesh. Even in the spirit, I need to be equipped. See, let's have another conversation, or, continue this conversation, but let's go to another compartment, if you will. Do you not believe that racism can affect somebody spiritually? We know in the 9 major areas of humanity that it affects, that one of the places that's mentioned is religion. In the book, the United Independent Compensatory Code /System /Concept. Have you not thought about that? That racism is in your churches. That's why there is a such thing as, and watch this, it's not just called the white church. It's just called the church. And they talk about the black church. Black folk will say black folk, white, black church, white church. Right? White people just say church and black church. Oh yeah, there's a such thing. We know, matter of fact, we know what somebody's talking about. If somebody says I'm going to white church, what they mean? Just being honest, right? We already know. If somebody says, yo, I'm going to white church, we expecting a certain song style, right? And I'm not even saying it can't be something you can't jam to. I'm saying I expect a certain song style. I expect a certain look. I expect a certain dance. I expect a certain way your hands go up. Well, not just Roman Catholic, right? I'm talking about if somebody says I'm going to, watch this. Some of y'all know exactly what I'm about to say when I say it, right? If I say, look, man, I'm about to go to this church, Pastor White, but man, like the praise team was on point, and it's non-denominational and it's multicultural. What you think I just said? Some of y'all already know. I don't even have to use certain terminology. If I just say Pastor White, and we'll talk like that, Pastor White, but the praise team is on point. I just told you that means that the praise team is black. I'm just being honest, right? Or they sound, if you close your eyes, it sound black enough to pass. You're saying that, yo, it's non-denominational, right? But then I said it's multicultural. They always throw that on. What's that mean? It's something that everybody can get in, but it's ran by white folk. Like for real, for real. I don't even gotta go that deep into it. If I just go like, yo, man, went to service and it was a white church, I didn't know what to think. But yo, man, they came out. Praise team was fire. Y'all already know what I'm saying. You already know what I'm saying, right? That's how much racism has even infiltrated. If you don't believe that racism's in Christianity, then guess what? You wouldn't believe that there's a black church and a white church. In the Latino church. Now I get it. There should be places to where persons can learning the language, stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that if it's church, it should just be church, right? So why is there a white church and why is there a black church? But it gets even more diabolical because we don't want to admit it. Racism has gotten to a point to where, shoot, if I was to be honest, and this ain't even that far fetched for many of you, there's a light skinned church and a dark skinned church. Oh, I know some of y'all don't want to say that. Now sometimes they can be because it's family based. But let's be honest, there be light skinned churches and dark skinned churches. But once again, because we're supposed to be blind to it, we're supposed to act like it doesn't exist. But if you act like something that's as pervasive as that, and as perverted as that, as invasive as that, as intertwined as that, if you allow that to keep on existing, well, at some point, what happens? It just becomes the way. It just becomes the way. That's what's happened. Is it's just supposed to be like that, right? And it's a reflection of the ideas, really the ideals of society, right? If you live on an island that used to be one, but one side is now supposedly light skinned, even though some will be just as dark as you. But one side of the island, is Dominican, and the other side is Haiti. What do you think the church is going to look like when you cross that bridge? That same bridge that they took the lives of a whole bunch of persons, and their blood is still in the water to this day. What do you think it does? But we're supposed to ignore it and just be like, when you walk through these walls. So this is when cognitive dissonance really shows. Double-mindedness really shows. When you try to lie, really shows. Watch this. When you walk through the doors, praise God, praise Jesus, and don't act like any of that stuff exists, because none of that belongs, according to them, in the house of their Lord. I didn't say the Lord. I said in the house of their Lord. You don't bring that in here. Because those who are into racism, white supremacy, serve Cesare Borgia. They serve Jesus. They serve Jesus. They serve half man, half Zeus. They serve the changing of the guard. They serve something that's not supposed to be for you. And it's supposed to make you subservient. And if you try to come in here and rock the boat, we have a problem. Because we're not here, once again, to reveal truth. We're here to give just enough fact that everybody should be able to say it's truth. But we're not here to give facts with context that cause correctness and justice that allow us to get to a place where we reveal truth. Right? If you're a liar in the world, you'll be a liar in the church, because the church and the world, unfortunately, are like this now. And if we be honest with it, a lot of these camps are doing the same thing. This is why we have to deal with racism, white supremacy, because it feeds a collective. Remember, there are different types of racism, if you want to be honest. How vile or bad they are is depending on how much qualitative and quantitative data you want to get there. But there are different types of racism, even according to the book. But we're not talking about racism. We're talking about racism, white supremacy. That's overall. Right? That's overall. That's for everybody. Everybody got a piece of that. How you doing, Savannah? Everybody got a piece of that. Right? In India, there were 4 sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects of people. But then, when racism and white supremacy was introduced, not only was it based off of just status, but then it became based off of color, to the point to where they added a 5th sect. That 5th sect is called untouchables. Untouchables are black folk. Which is why, even though Indians and Africans are the same, And by the way, it was also introduced by the Greeks before that as well. A lot of persons don't know the last um, empire to fall that was connected to Alexander the Great was in India. So a lot of persons don't even realize that the mixing and matching and systems and stuff that happened. I was watching some stuff the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, man, it's so amazing. We forget how people interact." I was watching how the Mongols and the Japanese, so basically Mongol warriors and samurai, went to war. I was like, "Wow, that's fascinating." But we forget, that there's more than just you just this, you just that. There's a lot of mixing and matching over time that happens, and but yeah, we forget. And so that's why you have a problem, even when, that's why on your side, nothing in you could allow. Now, I get what we mean when we were saying Kamala's not black by the way she acts, and then all of a sudden wants to start acting a certain way when she's running for president, and now she needs black women to be her mules for her, right? I get that portion. But that's why also, too, many of you had even a DNA memory. You couldn't even take her even being considered to be black, not realizing that an Indian and an African are the same persons. But it's because there's a war that's been going on between India and the Greco-India, and even uh, what's his name, Mahatma Gandhi, who when he lived in South Africa was outright writing articles about how Africans who were real Africans, like actually from the continent, like people are from their DNA tied to the soil. He was busy telling you all that you shouldn't have anything to do with a what is it that you as an African as an African shouldn't have anything to do with or I'm sorry, an Indian who lived in South Africa should be treated the same way as the so-called white persons who were over the apartheid, and that the Indians and white persons were the same because of their connections to Greece and India through Alexander the Great, and was therefore promoting offing the people who were African. That's why if you guys see that whole thing where what's his face was in blackface, Ben Kingsley, the actor, he played Gandhi, right? I used to watch it all the time. Two cassette tape box, right? You have to watch part one, right? Some of y'all don't know. Some of y'all too young remember the struggle. You watch part one, you take that out, you put part two in, and it always ended in the middle of a scene where you're like, "Yo, I need what? What's going on? Why would you end it there?" Right? Before they started getting better at that. But anyways, and so, but Gandhi hated Africans. That's why in Ghana and in West Africa, when they started trying to put him up in colleges, they were pulling down his statues because we know we're not gonna let y'all just act like this, like he was cool with us. No, like he was telling y'all to off us, and he was even preaching it in the beginning when he got back to India, and his folk was like, "Yo, we really gonna talk about getting us out of here and how wicked these Englishmen are. We can't have you." Like they had to hold him back. They believed the same thing, but they was at least smart enough to be like, "Yo, bro, we can't. It's not a great look for us to be telling them that white folks shouldn't be coming down on brown folk, and that you saying killing black folk." You said black church, you expect hooping and hollering, and denomination shouldn't change. Yeah, right. But I'm saying though, that's like if you're not careful, you don't realize when racism, white supremacy is introduced, even something like the sects, which shouldn't really be in existence, where you're separating everybody on class, all of a sudden that classism gets to a place to where it really gets crazy when all of a sudden you separating them not just on class, but the color determines your class. So now where she's from in India, she's untouchable because she's considered to be black over there. So for her, it's really important to not be black, to be further away in the sects, sects, to the point to where, and I'm not trying to say you can't marry a white person, but I want you to see the mindset of a Kamala Harris, right? To where you're supposed to marry a white man, and we'll give you more grace with marrying him, right? Don't marry a black person. That's bad for you if you're into that sectionalized way of thought, right? You're supposed to marry this person because of the color of his skin. Even if you won't have children with you, I don't know. Maybe she can't have children, right? So there's some educated guessing going on here. Take what you will, right? But that's part of the community, right? I hate to be this person because I'm gonna sound like I'm doing racism, white supremacy. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of it when I say this, right? But in Indian persons whose homes that we've been invited in, who make a lot of money, who make a little money, who are very traditional, who we know their parents from across the seas and stuff like that who live with them now, right? Very great persons. There's also a place that has to be done to where when they see us and they see us in culture and they see us wearing our garb and they see us doing what we're supposed to do, it's surprising sometimes to them. Right? That like somebody, because where they're from, you're supposed to think off. So they open the door, praise God. They open the door. They want to learn, they want to live, they want to grow, they accept us in their home, they show us love. But at the same time, there's certain things that they're not really supposed to do. And so there's a little bit of conflict. Now, but at least we admit that we both come in there with blind spots, so we can have conversation that others can't have. At least we can be in each other's home. At least we can try your food. At least we can learn about your culture. At least your father can talk to me and actually ask questions of me and see and respect me and be like, I respect him, I respect his wife, I respect his daughter, I respect her husband. All right, my wife is respectful, my child is respectful, and they see like they see all these things going on. They go, wow, okay, right? But it's because we're not going to pretend that there's no blind spots. So he gets to ask questions, and I'm not necessarily as offended because at least we came here saying, yo, yeah, I know you come from this, I come from this. Yeah, ask away. And so something that you would think would be basic about us that they should just know, no, they don't just know it because he came from a place, right, to where he doesn't just know that about me. But since we admit that when we're on this place of a journey, that this is his blind spot, as I'm riding in my own vehicle next to him, I can say, yo, okay, well, before I do that, let me pull away from this because I know that's a blind spot for you. Can you see me now? You see my humanity? You see how I'm raised. You see the word usage that I have. You see the respect factor. You see my faith. You see my works. Okay, cool. Now let's have a conversation about this because I'm gonna need to pass through. I'm gonna need to get on your side. But I know when I get over here, you can't see me. So before I go to where you can't see me, I need you to have faith that I'm there. Come on, somebody. That's a word, right? I need you to have faith that I'm there. See, one of the things that happens is that what? Faith without works and works without faith. A lot of persons aren't going to work something that destroys our ability to be side by side if they don't even have faith that I can be a human being in the spot that they can't see. My greatness. That's a word. Come on, right? If you don't even have faith in my existence because you don't see me there, how can I have a conversation with you about a true conversation that reveals truth regarding said existence? Come on, somebody. Come on, praise him. That's a word. That's not just even racism, white supremacy word. That's a word as far as, that's not just a colorism word. That's a word in your life. How is your husband going to be able to help you in the areas that you don't even think that a husband exists in? He says, I drive husband. You drive your car. And as a driver, right? Matter of fact, you travel in your car. See, as a driver, I'm working for somebody at the moment. And so in my work as a husband, there's blind spots that I don't see. So guess what? You as a wife, when you traveling and stuff, you got to help me. I might not see it, but I have faith that even in the places I can't see, that you should be able to work in there. So even though I didn't see you here, I saw you come around. When you get to a certain place, I can't see you again. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to turn. But you have to have faith that I'm not just going to turn. But I promise you, I have faith even in the places that aren't my works, right? I'll work for you even in the places not where I see, rather, because even though that's your position of wife, I as a husband, I'm going to try to make sure that I uphold that in faith in his word. So even if I'm in a position, even if you're a wife and you say, I'm ready to give up, right? Have faith that even in what you can't see, that those works are there. That's a word even for life, right? A lot of persons are having an issue in their personal walk because there's a blind spot, and you have decided that because it's a blind spot, it's not there. No, the blind spot is not saying that it's not there. It's saying I'm blind to it. So I have to ride, I have to drive, I have to be in my work as if the spot that I can't see, you hear what I'm saying? I have to be in the spot as if a spot that I cannot see, that somebody's still in that lane. Leaders, you got to lead, and even if you can't be in every place and you're blind to certain things, I have to trust that those that are put in leadership positions are going to do the work and make sure they're still safe on the road, even though I can't see them anymore. Children, you're going to have faith that sometimes what your parents say, right? Even if you can't see what's going on, your blind spot might be a little different, but you can't see what's going on, but that's okay, right? I have to realize that I'm blind to it, that there's a spot. I can not that it doesn't exist. It's just that I'm blind to it. And so I have to make sure that now I realize that there's something working even in the blind spot, and I have to still keep my composure. Same thing with racism, white supremacy. Right? That my faith is that in faith shows up the hardest when I can't see. And like we were saying, this is not just a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. If you can't see my physical color, how in the world could you see my spiritual heart? So you done flipped this the wrong way. Doesn't First John chapter 4 say that how can you say that you love your brother? I'm sorry, you love Elohim, who you've never seen, but you hate your brother, who you see every day. You haven't seen the master, but you hate his disciple. Oh my greatness. Come on, Holy Ghost. Have your way up in here today. You ain't never seen the master who you love, but you hate his disciple who you see every day. Look, you ain't never seen the one who came through Israel, who's over Israel and says be grafted into Israel, but you hate Israel. You hate the Negro that you see every day. Can you see some problematic behavior? You can't love the master you've never seen, but hate his disciple who he sent. Isn't that described in your word? Isn't that described in the Bible? Where literally it says that the master, he went to put on a big party and everything. He went to the ones who were his lords. He's the king. He's the master. He says, okay, cool. Surely the lords who I gave what they had would show up. And then one lord was like, no, I'm busy that day. The other one, well, I got a wedding. And the other one, I got some stuff to do with the family. So he's like, okay, fine. They keep putting me off. Let's go and invite. And he kept on inviting until he was inviting everybody but the persons who were supposed to be higher up. Because sometimes when you're closest to the master, right, you decide that you are a master yourself. Just because you're a lord doesn't mean that you're above your master. But you'll put on blinders to sitting at his table to be blessed because you're like, I think I've been blessed enough. Said you can't say you love the creator and don't love his creation. That's right. Don't hate, love from a distance, and forgive. Hate leads to destruction. You see, so a lot of us are having an issue because we're trying to love without seeing. Or put it like this, we're trying to love the one who we've never seen, but act like the one who's a manifestation of his own love doesn't deserve love. I know I'm throwing a bunch of words. I hope you're catching some of this, right? I know I'm getting a download. I'm doing the best that I can, right? But I want us to recognize and realize that, and thank you for the love. I want us to recognize and to realize that we're having a problem because we're trying to pretend that sin doesn't exist. Because ultimately, if you want to take racism, white supremacy off the table and not call it that, fine. You are trying to pretend that sin does not exist. And that makes you problematic. Right? You are trying to pretend that sin doesn't exist. And that's what makes you problematic. When you try to pretend that sin does not exist, what you're trying to do is say that you cannot fall short and that ultimately the system doesn't fall short. But you're supposed to come out the system. So how you come out of a system of sin, but there's nothing wrong with the system of sin? Right? Right? We need to fight to keep America, but America's sinful. Racism, white supremacy. No. It might have been built on that, but it's no. That's the foundation, though. Everything that comes out of it, unfortunately, has to come out. So if you're going to stay in that system, tied to it, just realize and recognize that you're tied to sin. I don't care what color you are. How you doing, Taya? Yes, America's not their land, but even with that, right? Even if you want to say it's our land, even with it being our land, it's not our land either. It's to be tended over. And so all of us have to be careful. But yes, even in that, the fact that you're seeing that somebody else took over the land and did all that and then tells you it's something that it's not, that should raise some alarm. You said you can't come out of what you don't go. That's interesting. I thought you actually said something different. I'm not against you. I'm saying I actually thought you put something else different up there. I thought you said you can't come out unless you're called out. Right? So I agree with your statement. Take it further. You can't even come out unless you're called out. And this is one of the things that's interesting because to be called, once again, is even in the Greek context, is the word kletos. So in the Greek, in order to be called, you must be invited. This is why if you get a phone call, phone in the Greek means voice. So when somebody says you have a phone call, they're literally saying you're invited to a voice. You can pick up the voice, you can leave the voice down on the ringer, so to speak. Right? But when we don't even recognize that one of the reasons we don't call out, because call out is a little different. Call out is I'm inviting you out. See, we're talking about code, we're talking about system, we're talking about the word, right? So watch this. If I call you out, exactly, Brother DeWay, right? If I call you out, I say, that's wrong. Once again, what Neely Fuller Jr. is teaching us is that don't just give a fact, but give contextual facts that reveal truth. Right? Don't just say, that's racist, but give something that reveals truth. If that's racist, well, fine. Label it as racist and keep it moving. But a lot of persons, that's all we have is that's racist. How can I reveal truth? Right? So when I'm calling you out, I'm inviting you out. But if I'm just, right, watch this. Watch this. This is why some of our Hebrew Israelite brethren get what they get. Y'all N words out here, this and that, and all you B words out here, and y'all for the streets. And this is why y'all ain't doing this. If you would do what the word says, y'all wouldn't be for the street, but y'all want to be stupid B's and this and that, right? You're telling them the truth. You're telling them a fact, but you're not revealing truth. And you're selling them in such a manner that they can't even realize it's a fact. Because fact of the matter is that's not a B. Fact of the matter is that's not an N word. Fact of the matter is that's not a C word. Fact of the matter is, but you're so busy in saying I'm gonna just tell, but it doesn't say. Watch this. That's why you codify things anyways. The word is coded. Those who have a heart, those who have an ear to hear will hear it. Those who heart are right, it will grow 30, 60, and 100-fold. You don't have to work overtime and trying to make sure somebody realizes how destitute you believe them to be. Right? But if I'm going to call you out, I'm trying to call you out and give you an invitation. Now, you can accept it or not. That's when you become chosen, is when you actually do what you're supposed to do. You can accept it or not. Yah wants everybody before the foundation of the world to do what they're supposed to do, but you have free will to become what he chose you to be. You can become chosen if you want, but all I do is I call. How do y'all grow? How y'all growing in SOC? How y'all growing in love? How you making a safe place? How you expecting the blessing? How you live this life with love? How you doing this, all these different tasks we done had? How you pressing strain? How you do this and that? You know how? I just call, invite, right? I'm just inviting you to the truth. I'm inviting you to something that reveals truth. I'm here to reveal truth. I'm not here to fight. And this is why some of our brothers are having some of the issues that they're having, because they're here for the fight, right? And I get we got to fight the devil, and I get we have enemies and stuff like that. But real talk, I ain't tripping on fighting y'all or anybody else for that matter, right? I'm here to reveal truth. I clock in, I reveal truth, I clock out. I don't really need nothing, much of anything else. I clock in, right? I reveal truth, I clock out, so to speak. I'm not really worried about the other stuff. I clock in, I clock out, so to speak. I know you can't clock in and clock out of your calling before somebody hits me with that, right? But I'm just saying, right? I'm not here during this live session to try and ensure that everybody, this is why we've even said things, you can't save everybody. I'm not here to try to save everybody. I know I can't. I'm not here to preach to everybody. I know I can't. Matter of fact, let me put it like this. Everybody who hears me preach, the word is directed at you, but I know that not everybody will receive it. And that's okay. Right? I'm literally trying to give you a truth. I'm trying to reveal kingdom to you and trying to reveal a truth to you that will help save your eternal souls. Some of you don't really care about eternal souls like that yet, or you think that you found something that takes care of it, and or even you're like, I'll do that later, but right now I'm gonna keep doing me. Do what you do. That's why free will is there, and I respect free will. How you doing, Loma? It might bounce off some for sure, right? I respect free will so much that I realize that some are not just blind, but they've chosen to put on a blindfold. When you tell me you don't see color, but you can see color, you've chosen a life of being blind. You've chosen to lie, right? And so at that point, whatever I'm saying towards you, I have to realize if you're in a crowd and you start hearing me teach something and you decide to do this, you decide to, I don't have my stuff today, but you decide to, do something like this. You hear me speaking on the truth and you go, I see you listening, and you go like this. Cover your eyes and your ears, right? Then I know that that's not for you. I'm not mad at you, right? But I'm not obviously sent to you, because I'm sent first to the lost house of Israel, and then I'm sent to those who want to be grafted in, and I'm sent to those that at least want to have a conversation that reveals truth. If you decided to put on a blindfold, you've decided that truth doesn't need to be revealed, and I become comfortable in that. Yeah, can't fix the problem and ignore it at the same time. So many of us will always, I recognize this, right? Like, do you think John or Paul or Peter or Judas, not Judas Iscariot, remember there's two Judases, or Bartholomew or Andrew or et cetera, et cetera. Do you think any of these persons didn't think ever that, yeah, I'm going to be rejected because my master was rejected? If Christ be your master, then be ready to be rejected, right? Anything our master stood for, the world rejects. Shalom, Donna, how you doing? Thanks for being on and finding us over here. We'll be over here until about December 30th, right? Anything that our master loves, the world rejects. Anything. If our master, right, if Christ, our teacher of teachers, if he says, love your neighbor, they teach, who is my neighbor? You see, right? If our master says, right, husbands love your wives as your husband love the assembly, somebody says, but these churches don't treat pastors right, so why would I think a woman could treat me right? Right? If Yah says that the husband is the head of the house, there's somebody ready to tell you why you don't need nobody to be your head, and if your man doesn't serve you, that he's not worthy of being even called a man. There's always going to be somebody that whenever we go into the word of Yah, they're ready to tell you why his word is not sufficient. But that's why he said to Paul, my grace, remember that word grace is charis or charisma or who he is. He said, who I am is sufficient. Anything outside of him is not. That includes racism, white supremacy. Any system based off of it, therefore, is not of him. Any system. Any system is not of him. Do you hear what I'm saying, beloved? Any single system that's not of him, right, is trash. So this is when it becomes weird, because persons say, I don't see color. Did Yah create color? This is where we got to go. Man should not live by bread alone, by every word uttered by what? The mouth of whom? Of Elohim. If he didn't utter it, if he did not speak it, if he did not send it, if he did not speak it, it is not universal. Therefore, it's not universal law. Remember, because universe literally means a single spoken sentence. So if the one who spoke the universe into existence created something, and somebody else says they can't see his creation, they're not just saying, I don't see the creation. They're saying, I don't see the creator. Or I don't find valid what the creator has made. You see? So when somebody's saying, I don't see color, right? I even try to be empathetic to it to a certain degree. I can't sympathize with it, but I can empathize to a certain degree. Because there was a system in place that said that color was bad for so long, there are a lot of persons that feel bad discussing color at all. However, if you don't discuss color at all, we've gotten worse, because now what we're saying is still, hey, let's not acknowledge the damage and not seeing the beauty in all. Let's continue to just only live by empirical data based off of denying persons of color certain rights. It's actually worse to put a blinder on and pretend that what you've decided to not talk about validates what you will not, or sorry, validates your reality, your contrived perceptions. Right? And you have become derelict of duty when it comes to the demand of love that has been put upon your life. Have you never thought about how much damage it does to somebody spiritually to not be loved for who they are? It's damaging spiritually when somebody cannot be loved for who they are. That's why love has no loopholes, and love is amazing. It's amazing. It's stupendous. It's incredible. At the same time, love can be difficult because I gotta love the crust of the bread, right? I love bread. I don't like the crust though. Well, but eat the crust because it's part of the bread. No, I don't eat crust. Okay, then you don't love the bread. You like pieces of it, and you're willing to tear away what it is that you don't like. If you love, right? I don't know if I've even had. I think I've had this before. If you love what is a pumpernickel, right? Then you eat all of it, right? If you love, right? If you love me, you'll digest all of what I might have to say, even if you don't have to, even if you don't have to like all of what I have to say, you'll at least digest, you'll at least take it in, and you'll say, okay, some of this is stuff that's great for the body, some of it is waste. But you'll take it in, right? If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Does that mean which ones you want to keep or which ones are his commandments? He said, if you act love, if your actions, if your ahaba, if your love, your actions are correct towards me, if your actions are towards me, if they're perfect towards me, if your actions are, then you'll do what? The actions that I command. In other words, if you act right towards me, you'll act right according to what I say. Right? That's an action. If you love me, you'll keep. If you act a certain way, you'll guard my commandments. All right. Well, is there a commandment to not hate? Now watch this. No, but he says he hated Esau. No. Hate doesn't mean, right? Hear what I'm saying? Hate doesn't mean to not ignore. Are you supposed to? Let me not even go there. Somebody can go take this to a whole nother place. I hope y'all catching what I'm saying. All right. Let me. Holy Spirit said tweak what I'm saying, because some of y'all gonna try to take this to another place. Because we can't see our hatred towards each other sometimes. It's rough. Right, it's rough sometimes. We can't even see the hatred that we have one towards another, and can't see the hate that we might have towards somebody. How we even call persons Esau, and if you study who Esau is, Esau don't mean white. right? But we'll leave that there, right? Because some of y'all would lose your mind if we had to tell the fact that some of us have been so messed up by racism, white supremacy, that we basically are doing the same thing they're doing, or we'd like to establish a system where we can treat others and call them things that they're not. You know how like they say that all black people are the same and we're a monolith and we all have the same belief system and stuff. And the reality is that no, we don't. Right? So Esau is just white persons to some of you now, which is not biblical. It's not truth. It's not historical. It's not at all. But because you don't like what so-called white people did towards you, you can't wait to be like, hey, all y'all white people are evil just because you're white. Can't wait. Right? Because you were raised in a system of racism, white supremacy. And so even though you're saying you're going to get free, you're still looking to get free through their prism, through their code. That's why you have to establish a code that is honorable, that's yours, but also really is the Most High's. That's why even in the book, the United Independent Compensatory Code / system / concept, our goal is not to be anti-white. Our goal is to be pro-justice. Right? Our goal is not to be anti-white. Our goal is to be pro-justice. Right? And so our goal is to be pro-justice, and racism, white supremacy cannot stand. Because it teaches not just only how to be against you, it teaches how to be against Yah. It teaches how to be against each other. And only a few persons are the ones who actually benefit from the system of racism, white supremacy. Everybody else is frustrated and feeling like somebody's against them and feeling somebody's hating on them and doing. That's what the system is set up for. So this thing, now I know because when I use the word hate, I mean something different than most of you do as well. So when I use this term hate, right, I'm not talking about anger or wrath. Hatred is the opposite of loving. Love, as we have already talked about, is an action. So if a love is an action, right, if love is an action, then hate is inaction. Oh my greatness, we're gonna stay on that part for a minute because that probably encapsulates everything we've been talking about in today's message. If love is an action, then guess what hate is? It is inaction. If love is the opposite of hate, then that means if love is action, then hate is an inaction. Right? You'd be like, somebody hating on me. Well, hating is correct if somebody's trying to get persons to be inactive towards you. But if somebody's saying something angry at you, well, that's anger. Right? If somebody's saying that they're frustrated with you, that's frustration. If somebody actually if somebody hits you, right? That's an act of anger. That's an act of even wrath, possibly. But hate really is when somebody is given inaction towards you, could care less about you. Right? This is why your Bible says stuff like this. Your Bible says, "He who spareth the rod spoileth the child." You guys like that one, correct? Right? You guys like that one. He who hated the child or spared the rod spoileth the child, or he who spared the rod spoileth the child. Here's another one in the same book of the Bible that you call Proverbs, right? Same so-called book of the Bible called Proverbs. Here's another one. He that spareth the rod hateth the child. Did you know that one? You heard that one before? He that spareth the rod hateth the child. Right? So he that spared the rod hateth the child. Who is this? Maestro? Block and mute is the only power you got. Okay, if that's how you coming in hot like that? Okay, cool. Well, if that's all you got, then it seems like all you have is that homonym. That's the only power you have. So I can go ahead and mute you and use that power. And I hope you have a great day. Right? I don't mind exercising that power. You ain't baiting nothing. Right? Hope you have a great day though. So You see what I'm saying? But a lot of persons, that's it. And by the way, that's a lot of persons want you to be in a position where, and really that person's trying to get something more out of you than that. But a lot of persons want you to be in a position to where you'll do all these weird things and all this stuff. But hate is the opposite of love. Is love is the action, then hate is inaction. And so if you hate, if you have inaction towards somebody, right? And really, that's all hate. So you can say that I hate that person, but the Bible says that you should hate evil. So I'm not even hating the person; I'm hating evil. I try to find a way to ignore it, or not even ignore it. Well, yeah, to ignore it. I might be aware of what it is, but I'm trying to make sure that I get rid of it. Like hate. Oh no, you fine, Sister Shima. No problem. Don't even worry about it. Right? We're human beings, and I'm not the end all be all of anything. Thank you for being on. Thank you for serving however you can when you can. Right? But hate is the opposite of love. Hate is inaction. So when you have haters, you gotta. A lot of persons don't want to do because you've been programmed to say love your enemies, right? But don't forget, hate the sin. So I have to find a way. So love and action. Watch this. Can I show you something? And this might help you in your growth, right? This might help you to not feel so guilty. I'm not saying lay hands on somebody. Everybody got that. Pastor Kofi ain't tell you to beat nobody up. It's recorded on several different platforms. All right. So if somebody trying to turn this into something else, we also have a bunch of times where you heard me speak on this, right? But I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, right? I'm not worried about trying to lay hands on nobody for real, right? That being said, I don't got to be around sin. And so a way of showing love to you is twofold. I might just have to start ignoring you, or at least ignoring the actions by letting you be separate from me. Now somebody says, well, if you're supposed to love the sinner, how are you going to show action towards the sinner without letting them around you and letting them under your arm? If they want to grow, of course, be around. But if you're just coming around trying to stay in sin, let me help you out with something. You ready? If you're just coming around me trying to stay in sin or trying to do something that could affect my family or affect my health or affect eventually my wealth or whatever the case might be down the road, right? And I'm wealthy now in Yah. Here's a little something to help you out. Not only am I going to ignore your sin and leave you over there to show you love, because I want to show you that the way that Yah will operate with you is that he'll separate, and ultimately you don't want him to stay separated from you forever. So let me just show you that when you have bad behavior, I'll separate from you. I love you enough to show you that example. But also, too, straight up, I love you enough because if you want to get me angry enough to where I'll lay hands on you, it's not going to be great for either one of us. First of all, it's not going to be great for me. I'm not going to assume I'm going to win the fight. Maybe I'll lose or whatever, but it's definitely not going to be an easy fight for you. And it's not going to be great for me as far as what does it look like for me, especially being a husband, father, a pastor, etc., that I'm sitting up here putting these hands on you, right? Right? So out of love for you and out of respect for you, I'm going to hate your sin and I'm going to give you the action of letting you stay over there. And when you get your sin in check, then maybe we can have a conversation. But let me give you a great example of allowing you to be on the other side, especially because I'm trying to give you an example of what Christ is going to do when he come back and he's separate. And the sheep be on one side and the goats on the other. The goats fit to get it. And I want you to see your stubborn goat-like behavior. You so busy trying to be the goat in the world, greatest of all time, not realizing that you should be able to try and make sure that you're not a goat for real, because the goats don't have a spot in heaven in eternity. So let me go ahead and allow you to do what you do. That's the love that I'm showing you, because I have to hate the sin. I have to act like the sin doesn't exist, or I have to, well, not to act like the sin doesn't exist. I have to give sin its place somewhere else. Just like racism, white supremacy. I have to give racism, white supremacy another spot to breathe. And thank you for the love, right? I have to give it another place to exist. So, well, if you love me, no. If I love you, I don't. First of all, I don't love you more than Yah. We just said, if you love me, Christ said, if you love me, you will guard my commandments. He commands us to be anti-racism, white supremacy. Show me the Bible verse where he says it, right? Show me the Bible verse where he says it. Okay. Should the Gentile be allowed to be grafted in? Should the dark-skinned Israelite have more power than the light-skinned Israelite? Is Yahshua himself, who is your Lord, is he not described in Revelation as being extremely dark to the point to where he looks like metal that's been burnt in a furnace? Dr. T, earlier today, she was preaching and she was talking about where Christ talks about how he's going to give. They were asking him for a sign. He said it's a wicked and crazy, perverted generation that's always looking for a sign. So what did he say? He said, I'm going to give you a sign. Here's the sign I'm fitting to give you. He said, I'm about to give you the sign of Jonah in the belly of a whale. He said, I'm about to give you that sign of Jonah in the belly of a whale, right? And what was Jonah's issue, by the way? Jonah's issue was that he didn't want Nineveh to get saved because they don't like the Ninevites. All right. So Jonah was being sent over to them to tell them that they need to stop coming against the word of Yah and stop coming against Israel. It was an Israelite who was sent over to him and did not want to give them the word, because the word wasn't for them, it was for Israel. And those persons attacked Israel, but they were still going to be given an opportunity by the Most High to make sure that they got a word. Jonah didn't like it, and Jonah tried to get on the ship and leave. And because of all the storm and everything, he realized in order to save his people or the persons he were even traveling with, he had to ensure that they threw him over. He had to become a living sacrifice. Then he was in the belly of a great fish that was created just for him due to his disobedience. And finally he said, okay, right, being in the middle of this place that probably might stink, it probably got all types of food and stuff going in, water coming in and out, you can't see the light of day, all these different things. He says it took him being in an experience like that. You would think, man, okay, 15 seconds, let me out. It took him 3 days being in the belly of that fish to finally say, all right. That's how much hatred he had, because guess what? Yes, those people did have hatred for his people, but he allowed hate to supplant hate. And so he was trying his best to fight hate with hate. You hear what I'm saying, beloved? He was trying to fight hate with hate. I'm not even going to preach the truth to them. I'm not going to reveal truth. I'm a prophet. That's what I'm called to do. And I still won't prophesy. I won't. It gets to a place where you start to hate the oppressor so much that you won't even do what you're called to do. I know I'm coming down somebody's street on that. I'm knocking on somebody's door with that one. Some of you are so anti-oppressor that now you got to a place where you can't even preach and teach and speak because of your hatred towards somebody else. Jonah finally says, okay, 3 days of being in the belly of a fish. Give me 3 minutes, 3 seconds. As I saw the mouth closing down, I'd be okay. I'm gone. Right? But it took him 3 whole days because of his hatred towards somebody else. Now, yes, that was a fighter. That was an oppressor. That was an enemy. But don't get to a point to where you would literally have to be on lockdown and be in darkness and be blinded and not be able to see yourself and not realize how much hatred you have, to where you will literally be in a position to where you should lose your life, but you decided it's more important to lose your life than be obedient to Yah. So finally, Jonah says, all right. He goes to Nineveh. He preaches the word. They get saved. And Jonah's upset. Not because they didn't deserve to be saved. Because if you're not careful, that's where you go with the story. Right? If you're not careful, that's where you go with the story. Jonah is not upset because they didn't deserve to be saved. Jonah is upset because he knew once they heard the word, Yah would save them. Oh, you hear what I'm saying? Jonah is not upset because they didn't deserve to be saved. He's upset because he knew, he tells the Most High, he says, I knew that if I preached this word, that's what he said. He said, I knew if I did what you had called me to do in the first place. That's why I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go over there. I didn't want to give them the word. I didn't want to reveal truth. I didn't want to attack this system that has them have an oppressed mind, because even the oppressor has an oppressed mindset. They think that they're doing something for themselves, but they're doing the will of the devil that sent them. And here it is that if I gave them the truth and revealed who you were, I knew you would tell them the truth. I knew you would restore their salvation and give them an opportunity to. I knew you would become their Lord. I didn't want you to do it. And then he gets upset and he goes underneath the tree and gets upset because Yah He goes under the tree for shade. And Yah, basically does the same, curse the tree that he did with the fig tree. He does something similar, and the tree goes away, and now all of a sudden he has no shade. And he gets upset. Now he's like, how dare you take away my tree? And Yah's like, hold up. So you're more concerned about the tree because it covers you than you are about the fact that all these persons were going to have to go to hell? You got to a place where you hate so much that a tree, one tree withering, means more to you. See, this is why you got to be careful. Even persons who get tied up and stuff in certain things, he's like, you'll get tied up in something because it covers you and this and that, not realizing that, hey, you're literally the reason, the vessel that was used, so that all these persons in wickedness would come out. But rather than do that, you're more upset about your covenant. You're upset about the fact your house is, you're going through some housing issues. You need to be given the word. You're more upset about the fact that hey, there was redlining and stuff. Hey, believe me, I got you covered even in the midst of redlining. Give the word. Use your gift. Use your talent. Make disciples. You hear me, beloved? You're more upset about those things than you are about my work that I have for you. Don't get so caught up in what you perceive hatred to be. Hate the sin is ignoring it, but don't hate the sin. Don't hate the sinner. Don't ignore the person that you could give a word to. And see, if persons weren't so busy telling. You ever notice how we tell our own stories so much that sometimes we can't help nobody? Right? In other words, I would tell my wife this. I've done this in my mind before. I know none of y'all ever done anything like this before, but I would tell my wife this. But you know how she gonna act, and I'll go through literally an hour conversation with myself. When she say this, I'm gonna say this, and when she say this, and I know she's gonna say, you know what? I might as well not even say that, because why would you do? I didn't even give her an opportunity to hear anything I have to say. So you done talked yourself into a position to where this thing that you even see, maybe somebody would hear it and go, okay, I see that. I can be better in that. Thank you for telling me about. You can't even have conversation. Because in your mind, you've already decided. This isn't, but when you give something that reveals truth, your mindset should be, let's give Jonah some credit. Jonah said, I'm not mad because you saved him. I'm mad because I already knew that I'm mad because you made me do what I was called to do. I knew that once they got this word, I'm not mad that they got saved. I knew that they would be saved. I'm mad that you made me preach this word. I'm mad you made me use my gift. I'm mad that you actually calling me out. And and you put me in a situation that this is what the fish did. Jonah didn't accept the invitation. The storm, the water, the fish were all due to the fact that Yah said, there's some things, boy, you're my son, you're my prophet. And as much as you don't like it, so there's some things that Yah will say, you can go ahead and dine the fish if you want, but I'm going to make it real uncomfortable for you on your way out. Somebody don't want to hear that, right? You're going to have to tell some uncomfortable things and reveal some uncomfortable truths. And Yah's going to make, or else he's going to make it uncomfortable for you on your way out. You're going to have to change some of your behavior and your wording and your etymology, or else he's going to make it really uncomfortable for you on your way out. He'll hit you with that old Cosby line, I brought you into this world. It's not even Cosby, that's our culture. But I brought you into this world, and what? I'll take you out. He'll make it uncomfortable for you, though. He doesn't want to take you out. It's not his will that any would perish, but that all would have everlasting life. But that's your decision. I brought you in, and I set you at the table, and I showed your enemies by preparing a table for you in the presence of them. But don't get it twisted, right? If you're my prophet, if you're my disciple, if you're my child, if you're my spiritual wife, whichever way you want to take this, if you are mine, at some point, you're going to have to do my will. You said taking the other person out of the entire equation. That you mad you have to reveal the truth to the Gentile. Yeah, but be mad all you want. Be angry, just don't sin. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, that's why I always ask you to ask this question with preachers, especially whenever somebody says, and I'm said, they go, I'm called to preach. Cool. Praise God. Yeah. Yeah, you called to preach. Praise God. Next question. Who you called to preach to? Because you might not be called to preach to the Gentile. Not every preacher is called to preach to the Gentiles. You just make the assumption. Right? You might not be called to preach at the White House. You just make the assumption. Somebody invites you to the White House. Oh, I might as well go up. Did y'all tell you that? Did Habakkuk reveal that? Did you go through training for it? Did you acted like you called to preach to preachers. You might not be called to preach to preachers because some of these preachers can't be taught. Oh, I'm called to preach to Israel. Did y'all tell you that? Or is that just it's the trend? Some of y'all might need to stay and preach in the church for now. Did y'all tell you to do so? You see what I'm saying? I'm not telling every preacher you can't preach in the church. Did y'all tell you to do it? Did the Holy Ghost co-sign it? Has Yehoshua covered it? Did he become a door for you to go into there? Are you even in the kingdom yet? You see what I'm saying? Like sometimes we got to ask ourselves, are we doing it because it's a trend? Are we doing it because it feels nice? Are we doing it because it's correct? Are we doing it because y'all said it? Right? So that's also another thing. You know, it's like, am I called? You might not even be in like some of us are not even called yet. Some of us haven't even got our lives together. Some of us aren't even of a mind yet to where we can even reach out to who we're called to reach out to. This is a process. Some of us might need to just live our lives correctly, and if asked questions, answer questions here or there. But some of us need to learn how to like just live our lives according to Yah's word. Some of us are cursing persons out and causing curses, and I curse you in the name of blah blah, and you don't even know what the Bible says about that yet. I'm just saying. All right, praise Yah. All right, we'll be praying for you. Um, but yeah, I'm just saying, be ready. You know, be ready for what Yah has. But how are you ready for Yah has if you haven't? That's what I haven't asked him. That's why we even said part of this conversation is what? It's the spiritual aspect of racism, white supremacy. We're not, a lot of times we just only look at it through the prism of the physical, but it's satanic, right? It's so satanic that in order for the Satan to get money from the corporations, he has to make sure that him being the prince of air, before stuff goes in the airways, he can't even allow us to post pictures of what was done to us in racism, white supremacy. With the Confederate flag in the background, with the United States flag in the background, with the United Nations flag in the background. With a Confederate jack in the background, with a church, with everybody dressed. You ever notice, even with this, where persons want to ignore it, you could show them pictures of it to your, but nobody wants to deal with the sin of this. This is why Pastor John Brown gets respect from a lot of us, and we're not anti-white. We just try to be pro-correctness. You ever thought about the fact that a lot of these cats are in their Sunday best? You ever seen that in the pictures? That somebody can be cursed, because cursed is any man that hangs from a tree. And as they're cursing him, everybody's in their Sunday best. Everybody's in, we always focus on the hoods that they wore in Spain and Portugal and America and stuff like that, maybe even a little in Brazil. But we don't focus on the fact that a lot of them were just in their Sunday best. Faces shown. Little children sitting up there laughing and smiling. Famous picture of a little girl looking up, smiling as there's feet dangling right above her head. And this was because this was right after church service. This whole thing of church picnic, that's where that came from. You would pick an N-word. Pick a nig, right? And you would pick one, and you would put it in the announcements of the church service. They would have blankets that would wear, right? And when you get that whole red and black and white, or red, black, white combination, that's because white blanket, black person, red blood. That's where that famous, you usually get some combination of that black, white, red, black, white, red, black, something like that, right? And they would have it in church announcements. Hey, next Sunday, we're gonna hang. Amber, we done picked one. We got one, and they coming through, or so and so. They whistled at a white girl, and we can't allow that to happen. So we're gonna get together and be in the program. Even the Willie Lynch letter, when you go back and look at it, December 25th, 1712, that was a Christmas sermon. He spoke on that. He spoke more. He would teach more throughout his time in Virginia before he went back, to the islands. But he came on behalf of his family, right? Which is why you have Lynch stuff all over Virginia. He came on behalf of his family. They were having problems with their slaves, and so on Christmas Day, Christmas service, which is why we're going to talk about Willie Lynch stuff on Christmas Day, on Wednesday. We talk about the truth about Christmas. During Christmas service, they had this man get up and speak. After that, they would have gone outside and they would have had the N-word that they picked and had a picnic, and they would have ate. And during this, when somebody probably is not only hanging, but sometimes even burning and stuff, persons ask and they bid and they even to collect donations and money and offerings for the church. They would even have persons who would pay to be able to get certain parts of the deceased person. They would take them, they would put the little pieces that they got in jars. They would take them home, and just like you watch television and stuff, everybody used to have a fireplace. At least that was everyone's desire. And above the fireplace, that was like your television area back in the day. And you would put above your mantle, right, above the mantle, right, or on the mantle where you had the fireplace and all that, you would put a piece of that N-word that you had picked and you had paid your money for. And you had paid money to the church to help them. And the blessing that the church gave you in return was a piece of a Negro or African or Native. That was a regular thing. So when somebody tells you and I, right, that we shouldn't see racism, I don't even think persons even realize that us having this whole thing where we got a television section, right, a lot of that starts to where persons used to have a piece of N-word that they would be able to see when they were looking at the mantle. It was a prized possession. That's part of the foundation of the so-called United States Corporation. His hatred of Nineveh ultimately causes him to hate or try to ignore what Yah says. Come on, right? We're talking about Jonah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like us being blind to something. This is why persons still have picnics and don't even think about what this is that you're going into. And everything has a spirit attached. Do you think the persons that make picnic blankets, that none of them know this? Do you think so? You think that when they make a shirt that says it's the coolest monkey in the room, you think that nobody notices that? Knows what that means? You think they just keep making mistakes? You think Balenciaga, because we don't want to talk about it as chattel slavery, but it's slavery, right? When you still trading children and having children do all types of lewd acts and things of that nature. You don't think that Balenciaga knows what they're doing when they're selling this stuff? You don't think that, what's her name, the singer, the girl near far, wherever you are, I forget her name right now, I see her face. Right, I believe that the heart does go on, the Titanic. She has a lot of other hits, but everybody knows her mainly for the Titanic song now. And when she put all that stuff out for little babies and stuff like that, you don't think she knows what she's doing at all? You don't think there's any kind of spirit that's there? Like I said, don't just think about only the physical. There's a spiritual stuff. We even talked about, remember, she couldn't get to him, so she touched the hem. But we talked about if I could only touch the hem of his garment, there was power in what was attached to him. Right? Even the clothing had power. Right? I can't get to him, but I'll get to him. There's something attached even to the fabric, the very thing that's Celine Dion, thank you. Even what's interwoven. And don't miss this stuff. That's right in front of our faces. We are supposed to ignore it, but sin is sin. So if I'm going to hate sin and I'm supposed to ignore it, then I need to set up a system. that if you're going to come into this kingdom, you have to come in with thanksgiving. That's fasting, letting go of what you have. And then you can talk to me in the court. But don't come into you're not going to be able to make it through the kingdom if you don't release the sin. So this is why there's light and darkness. There's enmity between those who are the seed of Israel and the seed of the devil. There's enmity. That's why I love Jacob and hated Esau and allowed Esau to go through what he went through because of the love, the actions that Jacob and I have and what I put towards them. Right? There's a clear-cut distinction. And if you're gonna stay, you can be as Israelite by birth as you want, but if you keep doing certain things, you're gonna be grafted in, or at least thrown out there with Esau. And you can be as Esau as you used to be, but if you decide to give that up and say that Elohim's people shall be my Elohim people, and he shall be my Elohim, you can be grafted in and stop being a wild olive, but be brought into the actual olive tree that's civilized by the kingdom of Yah. You have a decision to make. But to try and keep ignoring it and act like you don't have any blind spots is madness. It is. It is madness. To keep being in a situation, in an environment, and in a culture where you're supposed to keep pretending that you don't see wickedness. You're supposed to keep pretending you don't see righteousness. Right? You can't do it. That's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. I don't know how else better to say. It's like when we get to Wednesday, we talk about the truth about Christmas. That's a lie. The truth about Christmas is that Yahashua wasn't born Christmas Day. The truth about Christmas is that he was born around the Day of Atonement, which is not in December. The truth about Christmas is that it was changed by persons who were trying to get you to be into winter solstice stuff. The truth about Christmas is it's attached more to Mardi Gras than it is to Christ. The truth about Christmas is Santa Claus is not to be worshipped. The truth about Christmas is that you shouldn't be dealing anything with Odin and Zeus. The truth about Christmas is that it's a myth. The truth of about Christmas is that it's not even something that's cultural. The truth about Christmas is you can't even find anything in the Bible about it except something that is before Christmas existed concerning Christmas trees. The truth about Christmas is if you're trying to say that I want to make this day about the day he's born, then you are a liar. I would be really upset, and I'm going to end up repeating some of this on Wednesday, but I'd be really upset if somebody said, hey, Kofi, we're going to do something to support you. We want to celebrate your born day. I'm like, cool. I'm born October 6th. Somebody says, yeah, but we're going to do it on December 25th. Okay. It's weird, but all right. I love y'all. Let's see what you do with this. Right? I show up December 25th, and y'all guys talking about, oh, yeah, he was born December 25th. No, I wasn't. And, you know, he was born in Naples, Italy. No, I wasn't. and he is somebody who is buddy with Santa Claus at Krampus and Black Pete, and he has elves attached to him. No, I don't even know who those persons are. Who are you talking about? Right? Like, I'd be really upset if you said if you really loved me and said you were going to celebrate me, but then try to change everything about me. And then if I did some research, come to find out, oh, y'all already be celebrating somebody else, and you're actually going to replace me as pastor with somebody else, but they happen to have all these things in place. And so you're going to teach it for a few years. And then when I finally start getting on y'all, and I start sending persons in my name and saying, hey, like, y'all been telling the truth. He wasn't happy. He told you that's what it wasn't. What it wasn't. He told you not to do it anymore. And y'all keep lying on him. And y'all say, well, we had this other dude that was going to be pastor anyways. So go ahead and bring in Pastor so-and-so, because he's what we celebrate anyways. And therefore, we're more in line with truth. Whoever he talking about, y'all must be making that up, right? That's what y'all doing on every Christmas day. You have to pretend to ignore reality. Or you have to pretend to act like reality is going through the prism of truth when you made up something completely different. Yeah, and you said I was white with blue eyes, right? No offense to those that are white with blue eyes, but that makes it a what? A lie, right? Somebody said, oh yeah, he's 5 foot tall with straight white hair. So that would be a lie. So that's all. That's all I'm trying to say is, if it's a lie, then call it. Then call it to somebody's attention and reveal truth to them and say, hey, you don't have to remain in the lie. If Yehoshua is a black man with locks and still loves you, does it mean that you can't go to heaven? No, it just means we're telling the truth about the door. If Yehoshua is black, does it mean that no white person can get into heaven? Of course not. It just means that we're telling things truthfully. If Yehoshua is black, does it mean that you shouldn't be treated correctly as a woman? Of course not. It just means we're telling the truth. But that's how devious this has become. Now we're gonna finish tomorrow, right? I'm done right now. I'm actually done. We're done a little bit early. I'm done for today. Tomorrow we'll deal with the religious aspect. And moderators, I'm gonna ask you guys to really be on your game. You already saw what they did to us a couple days ago, or whenever it was yesterday. Because tomorrow it's gonna be hitting home the most. It's gonna be kind of hitting over the head. So I already foresee there's gonna be some persons that are upset, especially because we're on Kofi and it's going to the original one. So we have some traffic that normally wouldn't come through. But I thank y'all moderators. I appreciate love y'all. Y'all can see every day why I depend on the moderators, and the moderators run the stuff and sometimes run it for me and even tell me, not only run it for me, they tell me what you need to do, because sometimes persons come on and they try to mess up what y'all has going on. So we're gonna leave it there. I will see you guys 6 p.m. Eastern New York time tonight. It will be the last 12 Minutes of Christmas official 12 Minutes of Christmas thing. We'll watch one of the videos, and then Minister Tamara will give us a word to add on regarding for the gingerbread men, to talk about that part of myth stuff. And then we'll have the evening session tonight. Tomorrow will be our last day dealing with this series, and with Neely Fuller Code part 11 will be tomorrow, and we'll finish by talking about how it's seeped into religion. And then what we'll do tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern New York time is we'll have it on the same link as the 12 Myths of Christmas. But once again, if I'm making a decree, if you're disobedient and your children see some stuff that they shouldn't see, that's on you, right? But I'm making a decree as a pastor. I'm gonna do a pastoral decree, if you will. We will tomorrow, not this evening, but tomorrow evening, no children under the age of 15, including my own. All right. I don't want them to necessarily hear it, because even though it's going to just be Neely Fuller talking, and he's fine to listen to, there's going to be some persons who animate some stuff and even put some words and some particular word uses that we don't want your children necessarily be around, and some visual things that we definitely don't want them to see. So I know some of you will be like, my child's mature enough, blah blah. All right, I'm telling you, I don't want anybody. If I see somebody on there 15 years or younger, I'm gonna have a problem tomorrow. Tonight they can come on. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a problem with you, right? Because I told you we don't want that. Okay. So I'm not trying to have anybody. My child had bad dreams. My child heard cursing. My child heard blah blah. It is what it is. I told you what's up. You said, how you doing, Courtney Amber? You said, what's the link? The link is if you look on our YouTube channel, hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI. If you're a free member, you don't even have to be a paid member, but if you're a free member on the Patreon page, you can go on there. We made sure that it's there for you to see, and we put it up daily. If you look on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the link up there. It's called 12 Myths of Christmas link. If you're part of the Facebook page, hashtag find Kofi, look on Facebook, and you should see it on there as well. If you filled out information for us before in the shout out and stuff, you should have got information as well, or at least you should get the information on a regular basis when it's updated. But you should be able to find it on different places. If you would like to, you can try to reach out to us on DM and see if I can DM it to you. I'm not great with TikTok DMs, especially because we have 3 TikTok channels on top of all the other stuff we got going around the world. So I am not always able to get to all those things, but you can try, and maybe I can find you on TikTok and DM you the information. See. But we're doing something called a shout out. We end every live session with a shout out. So if you've never done a shout out with us before, just kind of stick around for a second. You'll see how that works. And if you want to put some information on there, letting us know it's okay to reach out to you, then somebody will reach out to you and try to get you that info. But Tada family, thank you everybody for being on. Toda, Dawada, etc. Tada family, thank you for being on. Appreciate, love you, and really excited to continue this walk and this journey together and growth. Prayerfully, we'll see you tonight on Zoom, 6 p.m. Eastern New York time. If not, we'll be on Kofi_42 on TikTok and later on YouTube tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. And we'll spend some time, continuing to go through Ephesians. I think tonight we're starting at Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. And we're getting ready to kind of close that series out as well. I think we might be finished with Ephesians chapter 6 by tomorrow evening as well. But we thank you all. We appreciate, love you. And we're excited. We're thankful and grateful once again for what y'all is doing in your life, for the lives of others. Hopefully you guys are continuing to grow. Continue to be that example. Continue to show love. Even when it's difficult, we're not called to show love only when it's easy, but we're called to show love, especially when it's not easy, because that really helps persons to comprehend what Yahweh really, really wants in us and through us at all times. But I love you all to life. You all take care. Prayerfully, I'll see you later today. Got to talk to you, a couple of you later on anyways. Once again, keep in prayer our ministers in training as of, they'll officially start their training second week of January. Minister select Raj, minister select Akita, minister select the Crystal. Pray for one another. Continue to pray for Big Brother Thomas as he's dealing with the loss of his father, which happened Wednesday. So continue to lift them up in prayer, praying for him. Continue to pray for Sister Deja, those sisters that were asked to reach out to Sister Deja. I hope you guys have still been doing so. Please, 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 ma'am, do so as much as you can. Keep Minister Elisha in prayer. She's sick. Keep our ministerial staff in prayer, period. A lot of stuff happens, and when you're attached to stuff that's, just put it this way, I'm not saying because it's me, it's because we're dealing the truth. The word tells us that who you're attached to, you're part of the same body. So, if those who are under me, they deal with things that I deal with. And so, just pray for them and pray that they will continue to grow. Praying for Minister Stephen, our brother. I'll just leave it at that. Love you, sir. Hopefully that you continue to do well. Thank you to our secretary, ministerial staff, the moderators, everybody like that. Everybody, appreciate, love you. We'll get ready to do the shout out. If you've never done a shout out with us before, just join over on TikTok. When the music begins to play, those of you who've never done a shout out with us before, just kind of see what everybody else is doing on the screen, and you should be able to follow suit. But love you all to life. You guys take care. Continue to do amazing things. Continue to do awesome things, and we look forward to Yahweh continuing to be in your life and continue to help you in many, many different areas that maybe you didn't think it'd be possible for him to do so in. So we love you all to life. We hope that you guys continue to do great things, and yeah, just continue to trust in his word and continue to do what he says. And yeah, it's going to be there every step of the way. Hashtag expect a blessing. Hashtag finish strong this year. And we're getting ready to transition into hashtag a safe place. Love you all to life. Don't forget December 28th, Women in Red on Zoom. Don't forget December 31st, watch night service on Zoom. Not New Year's Eve service, watch night service, right? And I'm going to talk to some parents. We're going to try to send some stuff out to the babies, and hopefully they might be able to be part of what we're doing for watch night service. All right. So love you all. Take care. Hope that you guys continue to do well. And we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to them. For my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that is able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Love you all to life. You all take care. And remember, as always, that you are loved. You're necessary. You're majestic. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Take care. Thank you again, Dr. T, for the word earlier. And we'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Peace.